subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Richard made a judgment on the players in Greed Island. Jouet's Jula and Bomb Demon definitely did not reach the level of ordinary members of the brigade. This is beyond doubt. They might just be the Een Beast level. Class D. Huasher Dolong is now a D rank, and in the Island of Greed, he can't get any growth. Those cards are not what Huasher Dolong needs, and there is no point in entering the game. And Richard, even more. But Pence, it wasn't long before she learned none. Betty has yet to learn none. Both can head to the Isle of Greed for exercise. But that has to be after the Ukexan incident is over. The car stopped. Richard and Huasher Dolong got off the car, followed the crowd, and walked to the middle of the venue. Before entering, property identification is required. Those who do not have enough money are not eligible to enter. In addition, the auction also set up several sub-venues. Auctions can be held at the same time. Information sharing. The purpose of this is that one is because there is no larger venue, and the other is that the price of the auction items can be slightly increased, which is an auction technique. Karapika looked towards Richard. Richard quickened his pace a little. The two passed by. Are you sure the brigade will show up today? 35 sure. Well, when you need me to make a move, practice me, but I only make one move. Afterwards, you have to take me to the old side of the Kaluta tribe and tell me everything I want to know. It is good. At this time, the auction has not officially started. The crowd went to the venue. Richard and Huasher Dolong merged into the crowd. The sky darkened. The auction is at night. Richard has come to the venue and sat down. Nine did not enter the venue, but went to other areas. Participating in the auction, only these guards Karapika. Richard glanced out the window. The atmosphere outside seemed to suddenly become heavy, quiet, gloomy. A presenter stepped onto the stage. A representative of the gang made a speech. For the world gangsters, this auction is not only an opportunity to make money, but also an opportunity to show their power to the world. It is equivalent to a festival of the world's gangsters. Finally, the first auction item was sent up, and at this time, there was a rapid sound from outside. Chapter 138. The invading Phantom Troop, here we go. Why it is said that Nin and ordinary people are two completely different levels, from the incident of Phantom Troop's invasion of Ukexan auction can be clearly seen. Such a big event. World gang-led auction. A Phantom Troop, say hack. Two figures appeared at the main entrance of the venue. After, crack, Franklin's fingers were disconnected, revealing fingers that looked like gun barrels. 10 fingers were all broken. This is Franklin's ability. Two-handed machine gun. Franklin is the ability of transmuter, but the ability of two-handed machine gun is not only the content of transmuter, but also the content of manipulator. 10 fingers. After being disconnected, a firearm-like structure will appear inside the fingers. Even a wild way like Franklin would have his own thoughts about his nun. After matching with the materialized content, the power of Franklin's two-handed machine gun has not only not decreased, but has also increased a lot, with fingers as the barrel. To read the bullet as a bullet. Ooh. The guarding gang members looked over immediately. Because Franklin, no matter how you look at it, looks suspicious. A face at first glance does not look like a good person. That's a bit of an overstatement. After all, gangsters are not good people themselves. But these few gang members, this is the way of thinking now. Featon was standing a little ahead of Franklin, because when Franklin uses the ability of the two-handed machine gun, his flexibility will drop a lot of ki will be condensed on his hands, and his body protection will also drop. And Featon stood in front of Franklin to protect Franklin. Invading the Ukexan auction is something that the entire brigade agrees with. However, Phantom Troop also dare not underestimate the World Gang. An organization with such a huge scale will still have some good ability, people to some extent. Then, Franklin, who has turned on the two-handed machine gun state, is equivalent to a living target in front of those who are capable. Franklin didn't answer, looking forward calmly. It seems that the front is not human, not life, just a group of targets. Countless bullets poured out. The war has begun. Such a thought came to the minds of the gang members. 39 Yin projectile into the body of these gang members. Immediately, blood spurted out. Franklin's bullets are stronger than ordinary guns. And what's more special about the bullet is that the entity of the bullet will disappear after hitting the target, which will lead to the complete exposure of the wound. The blood found a way out. It is equivalent to stabbing a dagger into a person's body and then pulling it out immediately. With the loss of blood, the person will soon die. Enemy attack. 35 Some gang members reacted and hurried over to this side. Raise the muzzle and aim at Franklin. Bullet after bullet hit Franklin. Franklin's physique is no better than Yuvagin's and can't completely stop these bullets. That's why Phaeton is standing in front of Franklin. A sword was drawn. Phaeton swung his sword and shot down all the bullets. Franklin's thought bombs poured violently. The two make a perfect match. Franklin is the spear. For these gang members, it is extremely sharp and kills in one hit. And Phaeton is a shield. Blocked all attacks against Franklin. In an instant, dozens of people fell. And this is just the beginning. Killing. Let the bloody smell begin to permeate. The fallen corpses joined together, and the blood pooled together, dyeing the ground red. On the other side, Yuvigin shook his fist. With one punch, someone is bound to die. Enhancers Yuvigin's fist. No ordinary person can resist. The bullet landed on Yuvigin's body, causing no damage at all. Nobunaga, how about we come BB? 95 Nobunaga glanced at Yuvigin lightly. How to compare? See who kills the most, who loses, and who wins. How about eating? Cool, mate. The two treat killing as a game. Rampage, rolling all the way. Dead gang members piled up on both sides of the road. Half of them were not human-shaped, as if they had been run over by some heavy truck. Even the bones were broken, but they were not completely dead, and some were still twitching. Rather than dead, because of the serious injury and the situation, no one would save them at all. Suffering before death. The other half is a one-shot kill. Throw 4 flowers, 0 wounds in the heart, in the neck, or in other vital places, all died at the hands of Nobunaga. Much luckier than those who died at the hands of Yuvigin. It is also death, but it is a happy death without suffering. Yuvigin, you are as rough as ever. 35 Nobunaga looked at Yuvigin and sneered. But it's more like ranting. The relationship between the two is the best in the whole brigade. After Yuvigin's death, he insisted on avenging Yuvigin. Only Nobunaga, the rest, showed his attitude to deal with Kurapika, but it is more to maintain the face of the brigade. Only Nobunaga, simply to avenge Yuvigin. The rules of the fandom troop are the most important for the brigade. Apart from a brigade, the lives of the head and other members are not important. When there is a threat to revenge, the brigade survival will be the priority, and revenge will be given up. That's what the brigade did when Silva killed the former number 8 member of the brigade. Krallo gave up revenge after losing to Silva. Rough. Yuvigin grinned and said, "This is the art of violence. Nobunaga, you don't understand at all. How can there be a fist to come directly from that kind of soft swordsmanship?" Soft? The two looked at each other. Next moment, sudden, the two gave up the gang members in front of them and turned to the past to attack each other. The two fists collided. Bang! 99 Nobunaga retreated more, and in terms of power, Nobunaga was inferior to Yuvigin. But soon Nobunaga fought back. Nobunaga has its own advantages. That is flexibility, responsiveness, perception. Nobunaga is stronger than Yuvigin. The gang members on the opposite side looked at each other. Are these two people neurotic? Aren't they a gang? Why did you suddenly fight on your own? Are they two idiots? Some gang members feel ashamed. I was actually killed by 2 fools, so many people. Take this opportunity and kill them. That's right. The gang members all picked up the wall in their hands, aimed at Yuvigin and Nobunaga, and opened fire. Bang! Boom! Boom! Dozens of bullets were fired at Yuvigin and Nobunaga. Yuvigin stood in the way of Nobunaga. These flies are really annoying. Let's deal with these flies first, and then we have a good fight. How about it? Good. And Chapter 139 Maggie. Long time no see, neither Yuvigin nor Nobunaga looked down on these gang members on the opposite side, Otherwise, it would be impossible for the two to suddenly fight in the middle of the battle. Certainly not true cannibalism. Instead, I thought it was too boring. The opponent's strength is too weak. Both of them just regard this as a game. Killing game. Shalnark hid in the bushes, operating a gang member, pointed the gun at their partner, pulled the trigger suddenly, and the gunfire poured out, catching the opponent by surprise. As a capable emitter, Shalnark's comprehensive combat strength is at the top and bottom of the brigade's ranks. There are two abilities in total. One is the mobile phone puppet, which can use the mobile phone to control the enemy. The second is Sense the Operation mode, using yourself as a puppet, setting goals, and the mode will not end until you die or kill the opponent. From this ability, 053, it can also be seen that Shalnark is not confident about his own combat strength. A truly confident person will not develop such an ability. None is closely related to the deep-seated thoughts of the individual. But to deal with these ordinary gang members, enough is enough. The nun shoots against the non-nun, which is equivalent to a dimensionality reduction attack. Therefore, most people are not interested in ordinary people. Whether it is winning or killing the opponent, there will be no sense of accomplishment. Will a person deliberately compete with the ants on the roadside? Rare, unless it is really boring to the extreme. Pike Newton and Kubiai form a team. Neither of them are fighting none. The killing speed was much slower than Yuvijin and Nobunaga and others. But their value does not lie in this. When Shalnark analyzed the team members, he clearly said that Nobunaga and Yuvijin can die at will, because their positioning is the brigade's assaulters. Dead well added. Enhancer's ability, easy to find. But Pike Newton and Kubiai are very rare. It belongs to the key protection object of the brigade. At this time, the people inside the venue finally realize the situation outside. Captain, something seems to have happened outside, and I also smelled the blood, which was very strong. Just after Hua, Sher Dolong finished speaking, a figure rushed in. Enemy attack. Auction cancelled. Please evacuate as soon as possible. 35 Richard stood up. Go out. Yes, 35 Richard knew that this was the Phantom Troop that had already started attacking the auction venue. But it had nothing to do with Richard. Richard was not a member of the World Gang, and there was no need to help the World Gang. Karaika. Richard gestured to the phone in his hand. Clear. Richard and Huasher Dolong followed the flow of people and left through a passage. Phantom Troop is still considered. Robbery of Ukexen's auction is their main goal. People who kill gangsters of the world, they don't care, because they have a complicated relationship with the World Gangs. In a sense, Meteor Street is one with the World Gang, but the current situation is that the World Gang has suppressed Meteor Street and regards Meteor Street as a vassal. The people of Meteor Street are not reconciled to this fate. Therefore, Phantom Troop will only sell you Curson auction. As for the money to hire and kill 10 old men, Richard guessed that it was probably not from Phantom Troop, but from Meteor Street. From Richard's observation of Maggie, Maggie herself doesn't have much money. A lot of money was given back to Meteor Street. Then the situation of other members of the brigade should be almost the same. Richard recalled what he saw at the time. It was Ilfin who called Silva. However, Maha Zoldyck, who was passing by in a flash, appeared next to him. Maha Zoldyck can't be a mere sidekick with IL and Cthulhu. Not so boring. There must be something that needs Maha Zoldyck's shot that Ilmi and Cthulhu can't solve. Phantom Troop probably couldn't afford to hire Maha Zoldyck. It may not even be just the money. Other Zoldyck members may receive assignments normally. 39, but Maha Zoldyck, he's already retired. There is nothing of sufficient value. It is impossible to shoot. 35, and money means nothing to Maha Zoldyck. Richard guessed a possibility. Could it be the medium? According to the information I have obtained now, it is speculated that the Phantom Troop attacked the Kulata tribe, and there's a high probability that it is not for the red eye, but the medium that causes the red eye. Then, this medium should be in the hands of the brigade or the hands of Meteor Street. At this time, Meteor Street took out this medium. Hire Maha Zoldyck. Because of this medium, Maha Zoldyck will come out of retirement to perform the task of killing 10 old men. Richard's eyes flickered. This possibility is very large. Otherwise, it cannot be explained. Maha Zoldyck, no reason to come out. However, probably not the nun, because if the 10 old men are so strong and need a nun for Maha Zoldyck, the 10 old men can let this nun kill Phantom Troop's people. At the same time, this nun person can also train his subordinates, so he doesn't have to rely on Een beasts. After all, Een beasts, in front of real powerhouses, are still unable to make a move. Richard guessed for a moment, but didn't come up with it. The people around suddenly became much less. 2 figures appeared in Richard's sight. Some gang members are fighting the 2 men. However, it is a bit too much to talk about fighting. The other party is only 2 people, but in terms of strength, it is absolutely crushing the large number of gang members. After seeing Richard and Huasher Dolong, the eyes of the 2 people also looked over. Maggie, long time no see. 35, haven't seen you for a long time. Finks glanced at Maggie from the side. Maggie, do you know him? Maggie nodded and said, we met in the Sky Arena. Richard, aren't you on the side of the World Gang? No. Richard shook his head and said, I just didn't expect 5.0 to attack this auction, but it has nothing to do with me. I wish you all the best. 5, since you were an acquaintance of Maggie. Then leave quickly. Maggie knows you, but the rest of us may not know you, so let's go this way. Finks pointed in a direction. Richard smiled and said nothing. Huasher Dolong, let's go. Good. 35 Huasher Dolong glanced at Finks, looked away, and followed behind Richard. Maggie glanced at Finks. When you meet Richard, it's not necessarily him who will die. Finks frowned. This guy is very strong. Maggie nodded. Hisoka had a fight with Richard when he was in the Sky Arena and lost to Hisoka. 5 Finks' pupils shrank, his expression serious. Chapter 140, are you sure you want to start now? Subscription. Finks looked back in the direction Richard left. You say that. I'm a little interested. I advise you not to. 39 why? Finks asked back. I've seen that guy Hisoka unhappy for a long time. If it weren't for the brigade's rules here, that guy Hisoka must have been beaten countless times by me. If I beat Richard, wouldn't it prove that I'm better than Hisoka? Maggie looked forward. That time, Richard didn't do his best. Hisoka clearly felt that Richard still had hidden power and means, but that time Hisoka had already lost. Afterwards, Hisoka offered Richard an invitation for a second test, but it hasn't happened yet. This person Hisoka, Finks, you understand. I would like to have a second test, which means that Richard has the ability that Hisoka wants to know. Richard is stronger than Hisoka, or even a little bit more. 35, Finks' expression became serious. Then who do you think is stronger, Captain or Richard? Do not know. Maki hesitated for a moment, then said, if you give the captain enough time to prepare, the winning rate of the captain may be higher because the ability of the captain is very special. In the encounter, I think Richard will win. However, this is just my personal verdict. I know the ability of the captain, but I don't know the ability of Richard. 5 Finks' eyes flickered. Then if I had attacked Richard just now, I'd be dead by now. Most likely. 99. I didn't expect that there would be such a strong person outside. It seems that I have been too comfortable in the past 2 years. After this incident is over, I have to invite Yuvijin to have a special training together. Finks and Yuvijin are both enhancers none. Special training together, the effect is better. Kurapika covered the crowd away. Seeing Nyan leaving the venue in a car, Kurapika looked back and glanced at the phone in her hand. After some hesitation, Kurapika put it down. With Richard's deal, Kurapika has only one chance. Once used this time, Richard will not shoot again. Kurapika has to be cautious. Captain, if all the auction items are robbed by those people, wouldn't the red IU one also be robbed? Huasher Dolong glanced back. Snatch it. Take it. It's okay. 35 Richard said. Buying from the World Gang is a buy, and buying from the Phantom Troop is a buy. It's a thing between Phantom Troop and the World Gang. We don't have to fight for the world's gangsters. 99 Richard glanced to Huasher Dolong. However, Huasher Dolong, isn't that what you're thinking of? You saw it, Captain. Huasher Dolong showed a trace of fighting spirit in his eyes and said, that person just now is quite good. Before I fight Hisoka, I think I can have a test with him. There will be a chance. Richard and Kurapika have struck a deal. Well, Kurapika certainly won't be without. It just hasn't got the chance yet. The entire venue was in chaos. All run away, and those who couldn't run were already turned into corpses. The strength of none over ordinary people was vividly shown in this incident. Shizuku took the vacuum cleaner and inhaled all the corpses on the ground. However, Schauner came to the warehouse where the auction items were placed, but found that the warehouse had been emptied. Krallo was silent for a while. Come back first. Yes. Phantom Troop chose to withdraw from the auction venue. The auction item is no longer there. It doesn't make much sense to continue to stay here. There are enough gang members killed. When the members of the brigade left, the entire venue fell into silence. Not ordinary silence, but dead silence. No one knows how many people died in this venue. The souls of death floated in the sky above the venue. The rich, bloody smell persisted for a long time. Even from a distance, you can feel the darkness of this venue. Hello, Richard. Exist. Come over to me. I need your help. Are you really using this opportunity to help now? Okay. 35. Okay, give me a place. Kurapika sent the location. Richard and Huasher Dolong got into the car. Drive. 35. Schauner glanced back. Someone came after. 39. Are those from the gang? Yuvijin glanced at the rearview mirror and said, Just right. I haven't hit enough yet. Stop at the place in front. Since they dare to catch up, then I will send them on the road. 35. Then I stopped in the valley ahead. Can. There was a sudden screech of brakes. The car stopped. Yuvijin got out of the car. You all go up. Just leave it to me alone. 39. Are you sure it's okay? Certainly. Yuvijin grinned into a grin. Just this few people. I'm afraid there aren't enough of them. 99. I've been looking forward to this evening for a long time, but those just now are not enough at all. My warm-up is not finished yet. 9. In the near future, there will be a reward order issued from the World Gang. For members of the Phantom Troop, 1 member, 2 billion ringni. This price is not low for ordinary people, but it is very low for Phantom Troop. 2 billion ringni, an ordinary hunter with a little thought, earned it in a year or two. Killua earned 200 million yuan in 1 year in the Sky Arena. At the time, Killua was less than 7 years old. Hunter's earning ability is only stronger than Killua. Even E-rank Sedeso, 053 and the Phantom Troop, the lowest, were both rated C. For mere 2 billion rennies, I worked hard with the C-rank nun. This is not something normal people can do, because we'll be interested in this bounty. Basically, there are those who do not have a clear understanding of their own strength. This is the case with Gon and Killua in the plot. Follow all the way. It was easily captured by Nobunaga and Pike Nortan. If it weren't for Nobunaga seeing Yuvijin-like qualities in Gon. Also, Gon and Killua really didn't know Kurapika's nun at the time. So Gon and Killua can survive. But without this coincidence, Gon and Killua wouldn't necessarily die. Kim freaks, the Zoldyck family, wouldn't take the 2 dead seriously. 5. There must be some secret preparation. 35. Kurapika's figure entered the line of sight of the 2 of them. Huasher Dolong stopped. The 2 got out of the car. In a valley not far away, Yuvijin was unilaterally killing those ordinary people. Pistols, rifles, sniper rifles, bazooka. Neither can cause fatal damage to Yuvijin. It just makes Yuvijin feel pain. This fact made the gang members who caught up with him desperate. Karaika, there are 7 people in the Phantom Troop on the opposite side. According to the transaction content, I will only help you to restrain 2. Are you sure? Do you want to do it now? Chapter 141. Foreign Beasts. This is the best opportunity one can find right now. Kurapika looked in the direction of Phantom Troop with a trace of hatred in her eyes. The entire Kaluta tribe, hundreds of people, all died at the hands of Phantom Troop. No matter whether it is a man, an elderly person, or a child, he will not be spared. Only Kurapika survived. Kurapika's hatred for Phantom Troop has been deeply engraved in his bones. That's up to you. If I fail, I won't make a second shot, understand? Understood. 35. Kurapika hesitated and said, If I die, I will leave you a timed email. If I don't survive, that email will be sent out automatically when it arrives. 5. There's information on it that you want to know. Richard nodded. Yes. 35. Richard did not expect Kurapika to make such preparations. Originally, Richard's plan was that if Kurapika died, Richard would mentally pollute Kurapika before Kurapika died. Absorb Kurapika's thoughts of death. After that, use the ability of the face to make Kurapika dolls. Capture the eyes on Kurapika's corpse and get as many Kurapika's memories as possible. Despite the plot, Kurapika is not dead. But because of Richard's appearance, a lot of things have changed. Richard, therefore, made a double preparation. Those gangsters can't hold it anymore. Richard, let's go now. Kurapika is ready to shoot. There is only one gang member left in front of Yuvajin, the man with the bazooka. Even the bazooka that he was relying on did not cause any harm to Yuvajin, making this person directly desperate, falling into hysteria, being frightened, and even standing unsteadily. Yuvajin looked at the man with a look of disappointment in his eyes. It's really a disappointment. It's a bunch of people going back and forth. Isn't there some powerful characters in the world's gangsters? Is it that hard to make me sweat a little bit? This is very arrogant. But with Yuvajin's previous record, there is indeed arrogant capital. These people in the world's gangsters are too weak. The appearance of Phantom Troop is no different from the dimensionality reduction attack. Kurapika took a step forward. Sudden, a different breath appeared from behind. Kurapika's pupils shrank, and she turned around. Next to Melody, Skuvara also had a solemn expression. A dent appeared on the ground. A figure emerged from the ground. Looks very perverted. Red skin, yellow eyes. Only critical parts are occluded. There are some unusual wrinkles on the body. One of the members of Een Beast. Earthworm. Richard didn't move. Despite being on Meteor Street, Richard receives a commission from Harold to kill earthworms. However, the reward Richard has received. The dark Sonata in Harold's hands has disappeared, turned into strength, and merged into Richard's crazy Sonata. Richard didn't have to kill the worms. Who are you? The earthworm looked at Richard and others, and frowned when he saw Kurapika and others. We are the guards of the Nathra family. Earthworms interrupt Kurapika. This is not a battle you can get involved in, even if you're already a nun, but Phantom Troop is a professional killing team, and only we can deal with it. 99 go back. 99 sudden. The worms saw Richard. The story of Richard killing Singed has spread all over the world. The sick dog and the porcupine clearly judged that even if the two of them went together, they were not Richard's opponents. Earthworms have also seen Richard's pictures. Meet Richard. Lee, Richard. 95 The earthworm swallowed a mouthful of saliva unconsciously. You are. Richard pretended not to know earthworms. One of the members of the Een Beast, the earthworm. Kurapika was a little surprised. The earthworm's attitude towards him was completely different from his attitude towards Richard. Is it because of Richard's strength? How much stronger than me? Just then, behind, 3 figures approached. Sick dogs, porcupines, leeches. The sick dog and the porcupine were stunned when they saw Richard. Richard, why are you here? Richard pointed to Kurapika and said, I accepted Kurapika's employment, and when he shot at the Phantom Troop people, I would hold them both. 99 too. The sick dog's expression was a little dignified. Mr. Richard, you can only hold 2? No, it's my deal with Kurapika. It's to hold the 2. 39 sick dogs are not particularly aware of the strength of the Phantom Troop. But before, Phantom Troop didn't have a particularly strong record, just doing some robbery and stealing work. I just heard Richard say that he can only contain 2 people. The sick dog thought that with Richard's strength, he could only contain the 2 of Phantom Troop. So, how strong should Phantom Troop be? Hearing Richard's last sentence, the sick dog breathed a sigh of relief. So, it is. Mr. Richard, do you know the strength of the members of the Phantom Troop? I don't understand, but I played against one of them, Richard said. It must be Mr. Richard you won. Yes, but it's not easy to win. 35 The hearts of the sick dog and the porcupine became tense again. I understand. The sick dog looked at the earthworms and leeches. The Phantom Troop may be stronger than we expected. 5. There are 7 people on the other side. If Mr. Richard will contain 2, then the remaining 5 will be handed over to us. We will focus on containment. We do not require a short period of time to determine the winner and wait for other members to support us. The sick dog looked at Kurapika again. What's your name? Karaika. Karaika, since you have the idea to capture Phantom Troop, your thoughts should be pretty good. We will see the situation and support us at any time. Karapika hesitated, then nodded in agreement. Good. 35 The earthworm, lovely how, burrowed into the soil again. Richard glanced at the 4 sick dogs. In the plot, the 4 sick dogs died in the hands of Yuvigin, and a large part of the reason was that they underestimated the enemy. Hard power is indeed not as good. But if you don't underestimate the enemy, you won't die so easily, so quickly. But now things have changed. Because of my appearance, the Een Beast people have become cautious, and Yuvigin still wants to kill these 4 people. I am afraid it will not be so easy. Furthermore, the other members of the brigade may also act. Richard looked forward. Huasher Dolong, let's go. 35 Good. 55 A figure emerged from behind Yuvigin. Boom! A punch hit Yuvigin's face hard. But immediately, the earthworm's face became very ugly, because he found Yuvigin's face hard beyond imagination. Punch down. Crack. The fingers of his right hand were all broken in an instant. Chapter 142, Are You Deceiving Me? Yuvigin froze for a moment. This punch, Yuvigin really didn't react. Earthworms use hidden tricks. From here, the weakness of Yuvigin can be seen. Because all the ki is used to strengthen the measurements, Yuvigin will not be able to use this technique. And if it is replaced by Nobunaga, then the earthworm sneak attack will definitely not be successful. Nobunaga can burrow out of the ground in an instant. Draw the knife. But Yuvigin didn't respond. Yuvigin didn't realize until he was punched by an earthworm. This is earthworm too weak. If replaced by a more powerful nun, Hisoka or Richard. Well, now Yuvigin is dead. Why Kurapika can capture Yuvigin alive and defeat Yuvigin head-on? One is because of Kurapika's ability, which was developed for the brigade. The second is because of Yuvigin's nun, which is too average in every way. Average often means mediocre. When Yuvigin faces the same level of nun, it will be difficult to defeat the opponent. In the face of those who are weaker than his nun, Yuvigin can appear strong. Or just work with your teammates. One-on-one, Yuvigin is not the best fit. It's like Yuppie facing a Killua who is much weaker than himself. But before Killua's ki was exhausted, Yuppie couldn't hurt ki 053k, so he could only let Killua attack him. If Yuppie's own damage resistance was not strong enough, he might be defeated by Killua. None is a very unfair thing, and constraints and oaths are something even more unfair than pure none. This thing, although there will be a price, but it is because there is a price, so it will be strong. Good come. There was excitement in Yuvigin's eyes. Boom! Punchback. Earthworm's entire face is deformed, completely different from Yuvigin. Yuvigin just had a slight redness on his face. There is a level gap between the two. The severe pain on his face made the earthworm realize that what Richard said just now was not fake. The strength of Phantom Troop is very strong. The person in front of him, alone, is definitely not an opponent. Fortunately, I have teammates. The earthworm gritted its teeth and grabbed Yuvigin's arm. After that, it suddenly drilled into the soil. Yuvigin's arm was carried into the soil by the earthworm, but it was only this arm. The sick dog's face changed. Quick! 35 the next moment, the sick dog, the porcupine, the leech, the 4 figures approached at an extremely fast speed. And Kurapika, Richard, Huasherdoru is on the other side, a little distance away. Above, Maggie, Shalnirk, Shizuku, Franklin, Phaeton, Nobunaga. Richard. Maggie frowned when she saw Richard. Richard, I need you to give me an explanation. I asked you before, and you were very clear that you were not on the side of the world's gangsters. But now you are staying with the Een Beasts. Just now, were you lying to me? Hearing Maggie's words, several members of the Phantom Troop next to them all looked over. Not really. Richard shook his head and said, I'm not on the side of the world gang. I wasn't before and I'm not now. The reason why I am here is because I accepted a commission. This commission has nothing to do with the world's gangsters, but a personal hatred. Conditions are conditions that I cannot refuse. And the content of my mission is to restrain the 2 of you, Phantom Troop. But I don't think we need to fight. You can come with the 2 of you, and the 2 of us and sit here quietly and wait for them to finish. 39. If you want to fight, we can also accompany you. Maggie frowned even more. Personal enmity? Yes, are you interested? Shalnark looked over and interrupted the conversation between Richard and Maggie. If that's the case, then we can pick 2 people at random, right? Can. Shalnark nodded and looked at Shizuku. Shizuku, come here with me. The strength of the 2 of us is the weakest among the brigade members present. Without the 2 of us, the impact is not great. Does this fit your mission delegation rules? Shalnark has some understanding of Richard. This is an existence that even Hisoka was defeated in his hands. Shalnark does not think that the other members of the brigade will be Richard's opponents. This choice is the optimal solution. With the 2 weakest, consume Richard and Hwasher Dolong. The remaining Phaeton, Nabinaga, Maggie, Franklin, Yuvijin, and Kurapika will be the best enemy strategy, which is Shalnark's judgment. But Maggie rejected Shalnark's offer. I count it as 1. I still have questions to ask, and the rest are up to you. Nabinaga looked this way. He glanced at the Een beast again. I don't think these dark beasts deserve our attention. Shalnark, just do what Maggie says. Shalnark looked at Nabinaga. It is good. After that, Shalnark turned to Shizuku. Shizuku, you are the other one. Shizuku nodded. Phaeton, Franklin, Shalnark, and Nabinaga all looked at Yuvijin's position. Half of Yuvijin's body was immersed in the mud, and the earthworm used all its strength. Earthworms dare not look down on Yuvijin. Sick dogs, porcupines, and leeches approached from 3 directions, a tendency to converge. But from time to time, he looked in the direction of Phaeton and the others, guarding against the sudden attack of Phaeton and others. Shizuku came to Maggie's side. Look at Richard, then look at Maggie. Maggie, what are we going to do now? Richard pointed to a stone next to him. How about we sit down and talk? Maggie walked to the stone and sat down. Richard is sitting across from him. Hwasher Dolong stood behind Richard. Shizuku stood behind Maggie. The 4 didn't seem to be fighting, but negotiating. What do you mean by personal enmity? Do you remember fiery red eyes? Maggie's eyes flickered. Karaika, the survivors of the Karuta tribe, the minority that was almost killed by your phantom troop. Because of this, it is reasonable for Kurapika to seek revenge on your phantom troop. And I need Kurapika's cooperation to investigate a matter. Therefore, I have reached a cooperation with Kurapika to help hold down the 2 of you brigade when he needs it. That's what I do now. Richard paused. Speaking of this matter, Maggie, I actually want to ask you a question. What? Why do you have to go to the Luda tribe in the extermination cave and the red eyes you got from them? According to my understanding, you didn't sell a very high price at all. Not for the money, but for what? Chapter 143, I am weaker than Hisoka. This is the commander's order. Richard smiled and said, I didn't mean to provoke you, but this is really weird, isn't it? The people of the Kaluta people are not weak. You must have spent a lot of money to kill them. When you got the red eyes, you didn't sell them for a high price. In exchange for kidnapping an ordinary rich man, it is not worth more. Is it high? Since Meteor Street needs money, why do you do such a thankless thing? Maggie fell silent. This matter, when Richard didn't bring it up, Maggie didn't think there was anything. But now, Maggie does feel too especially weird. Why exterminate the Cave Skull Tower clan? For red eye? Does the captain really like red eyes? If you really like it, why sell it all? But if it's for money, it is really not a suitable choice to win the red eye. Shizuku was a little curious. Maggie, what are you talking about? Shizuku didn't know anything about the Karuta clan, and she hadn't joined the brigade at that time. Something from the past. Maggie looked at Richard. So what do you know, Richard? I do know something in this world. There's a thing called a medium, and humans can steal the power of the medium, become their own ability, and then become a stronger nun. I suspect that the flaming-eyed ability of the Kaluta clan comes from this. 35 and Krallo, the real target isn't red eye, it's the medium. Maggie frowned. Medium? What is that? The crystallization of the power of disaster creatures. You don't understand this concept, but you must have heard of that thing, the Dark Sonata. You should know this thing. Maggie nodded. Dark Sonata is a kind of medium, but the medium of the Kaluta clan is much more valuable than the Dark Sonata. The medium of the Cthulhu clan can obtain extremely powerful power without paying any price. When you left the Cthulhu clan, what else did you take with you other than fiery red eyes? Maggie remembered, but did not answer Richard. Richard can understand. Phantom Troop is the team that Maggie has been with for a long time. Before meeting Phantom Troop, Maggie and Nobunaga Yuvigin formed a team of 3 to survive in Meteor Street. After meeting Crusoe, he was invited by Crusoe and became a member of the brigade. Because of Richard's words, Maggie may have some doubts in her heart, but it is impossible to stand on the opposite side of the brigade. No one would turn their backs on their team so easily, unless you have the intention of abandoning it. But in the Phantom Troop, except number 4, this special number, the rest of the members will be very loyal to the brigade. Only number 4 is an exception. The face is, and Hisoka is the same. The member who joined the brigade later, Cthulhu Zoldyck, also had a different mind. Cthulhu's idea is that he wants to be the leader of the brigade himself. That way, you can turn the brigade into a sword in your hand. Killua's generation has already been determined. The Zoldyck family is inherited by Killua, then the remaining Ilmi, Cthulhu, will either take Killua as the next heir or find another route. Richard continued. One of Kurapika's team members got his power from the Dark Sonata, and if you don't believe me, I can prove it to you. Maggie, I've been in contact with you a few times. I know a little bit about you, but I don't quite agree with the rules of your brigade. The interests of the team really take precedence over the members. 35. However, the interests of the team itself are the aggregate of the interests of the members. If the interests of the team deviate from the interests of most team members, then this team is actually problematic. This time Shizuko understood and stared at Richard. Are you trying to dig a foot in the wall? 39. You're saying good things about Maggie, but you're saying bad things about our brigade? Are you trying to take Maggie away from us and make her your team member? Richard glanced at Shizuku and felt that Shizuku's brain circuit was a little strange. I didn't mean that. I was just stating the facts and stating what I knew. Richard looked towards the Een Beast and the other brigade members. Now they are fighting fiercely, but we're not doing anything here, and if we don't even say a word, it will be a bit embarrassing. Okay, I have already said what should be said. Want something to drink? Richard took out a few cans of beer from the picture scroll clock tower. Throw 2 cans at Maggie. Then handed it to Hua Sherdolong. Hua Sherdolong hesitated. What's wrong? Hua Sherdolong's eyes showed a touch of fighting intent. These people are all very good opponents. Can I play against them? Richard looked at Shizuku. Now your opponent is Shizuku. Shizuku picked up the vacuum cleaner in his hand. Are you going to fight me? Do not. Hua Sherdoru shook his head. Even though Shizuku's aura didn't seem weak, Hua Sherdoru didn't really think about it. That person is the one I want to choose the most, but he's already injured. The second is the person we met when we left today. As for the rest, I don't want to be female. The 2 people Hua Sherdolong said were enhancers. One Yuvigin, one Finks. In the Phantom Troop, the first and second presence of arm strength. Hua Sherdolong is also an enhancer, so he is more concerned about enhancers' opponents. Then let me find someone for you. Shizuku looked at the other members of the brigade. Does anyone want to switch with me? What's the meaning? This person. Shizuku pointed at Hua Sherdoru and said, I want to compete with our Phantom Troop guys, but he doesn't want to fight me. So any of you are willing to exchange with me? Shalnirk was about to raise his hand, because Shalnirk's combat power was only higher than Shizuku's among the brigade members present. Already wasted a Maggie here. Shalnirk doesn't want to waste more. The battle with the Een Beast is the key. Shalnirk is guaranteed to win. Perhaps because of Richard's appearance, Shalnirk made a wrong calculation of the Een Beast's strength. In the plot, Phantom Troop basically dislikes Een Beasts. When Yuvigin said that he wanted to deal with the 4 Een Beasts alone, the others really didn't move. But it was preempted by Nobunaga. I come. It is good. Shizuku walked over to the location of the brigade and the Een Beast, and Nobunaga came to Richard and Maggie's side. The 2 switched places. Opposite Nobunaga, he became Hua Sherdoru. You want to play against our Phantom Troop guys? 66-inch yes. What's the reason? Because I want to beat Hisoka. I lost to Hisoka once. Hisoka is a member of your Phantom Troop. You guys are a little bit worse than Hisoka, but not as bad, so I want to try. Nabinaga's face turned ugly. You say I'm weaker than Hisoka? And Chapter 144 Richard's purpose, Maggie. Can I kill him? Nabinaga turned to look at Maggie. Maggie looked at Hua Dolong, then at Richard, and shook her head slightly. If I see. Nabinaga snorted coldly and looked at Hua Shidoru. Hua Dolong, it's 35. I can only promise not to kill you, but as for whether you will be seriously injured or not, it is up to you to decide. The last person who looked down on me. The grass on the grave is several meters high. Hua Dolong nodded. His expression became serious. Before coming, Richard and Hua Dolong probably described the strength of Phantom Troop. Now, it's a little bit worse, but not a lot. In Richard's judgment, Hua Dolong has now reached the level of D+. Nabinaga, on the other hand, is a C grade. In terms of the amount of ki, the two will not be very different. It's more about experience and using none for yourself. 053 Ken. The aura of Hua Dolong suddenly changed. Nabinaga frowned slightly. Good idea. No wonder you dare to challenge our Phantom Troop. But if you think you can beat me, you are very wrong. Nabinaga didn't draw the knife, just put his hand on the hilt. After round, the circle area of Nabinaga is not large. But this is not because Nabinaga is weak, but because Nabinaga puts more energy on improving the sharpness of the circle. For some Nun, circles are used to detect. And for Nabinaga, the circle is a battlefield. Within 3 meters, I am invincible. Because of the particularity of the circle, Nabinaga is good at melee combat. But in the face of those capable of long-range attacks, Nabinaga will be at a loss. However, Hua Dolong happened to be a melee warrior as well. Hua Dolong stepped on the ground with a sharp step. Crack! A crack appeared in the ground. Next moment, the figure of Hua Doru disappeared. Where? Nabinaga's eyes rolled quickly. Behind. A fist slammed straight into Nabinaga's back. In the nick of time, Nabinaga raised the scabbard. Boom! Collision. Hua Dolong retreated with a single blow. Nabinaga took a few steps back, but the retreat of the two is different. Hua Dolong, who failed in one hit, took the initiative to retreat, looking for an opportunity again. And Nabinaga is because of the power of Hua Doru's fist. Enhancer, good power, and Yuvajin Gai, very similar, this fighting style. Nabinaga's eyes lit up with a little interest. That's it. I didn't enjoy killing those gang members just now. So now, I'll have a good time with you. I hope you're not much worse than Yuvajin, otherwise I'll be disappointed. The figures of the two were staggered again. Richard looked away. Since the thief is mentioned, then I will introduce the rest to you. 5. Have you heard the rumors about the Dark Continent, Maggie? Maggie nodded. On the Dark Continent, there are many terrifying, bizarre creatures that cannot be described in words. And these creatures cannot enter the human world for some reason. 39. However, they will take some approach and have an impact on the human world. It was the crystal of their power, called the medium. 35. Because of the emergence of media, human beings affected by disaster creatures are divided into 3 types. 1 is believers, who are less affected and not much different from ordinary cult believers. The second is the thief. The third type is the infected person. The infected person no longer has his own consciousness. The consciousness is affected and occupied by the disaster creature, and it has become a monster-like existence. 99. The existence of infected people is a huge threat to all human beings, including you, Meteor Street. Richard paused. Krallo asked you to do something against the Kaluta tribe, and there's a high probability that it was the medium of the Kaluta tribe. If Krallo became a thief, the impact would not be very big. It's just that Krallo got stronger. 35. But if Krallo becomes an infected person, then Krallo, in fact, is no longer Krallo, and you Phantom Troop will no longer be Phantom Troop. It's an organization that is exploited by catastrophic creatures. Of course, this is just my guess, and as for what the truth is, I believe you will know better than me. 35. Maggie frowned. The news revealed by Richard made Maggie a little flustered, inexplicably giving birth to this feeling of palpitations. Besides none, Maggie has another ability. Almost 100% accurate intuition. This has been shown many times in the plot. Richard didn't go any further. For Phantom Troop, Richard suspects that they have a problem and that they have the medium in their hands. Judging from Maggie's performance, Maggie is unaware of this. Then, someone has swallowed the medium. Most likely, it can only be Crusoe or the person behind Crusoe. Richard said this because he wanted to make a crack in the Phantom Troop. Once there is a crack, Richard has a better chance of approaching that medium, and then get the power of the medium. Absorbing the power of the medium is Richard's ascension route. Nothing is faster than this. The battle between Hanisher Doru and Nobunaga's is getting more and more intense. There was a look of admiration in Nobunaga's eyes. At the beginning, Nobunaga didn't think that Hua Sherdolong could pose a threat to him. Even if Hua Sherdolang showed a good strength, it was only good. But as the battle goes on, Nobunaga saw it. Hua Sherdolong is not only good-looking, but his experience and skills are quite good. In addition, Hua Sherdolong's talent is almost visible to the naked eye. Even after dozens of rounds, Nobunaga could feel the change of Hua Sherdoru. This is a little exaggerated. In fact, it was Hua Sherdolong who was at this point. Facing the pressure from Nobunaga, Hua Sherdolong unleashed his potential, and Hua Sherdolong also recognized his own strength. The captain is right. I am still a long way from Hisoka. Even as Nobunaga, who is not as good as Hisoka, I'm at a disadvantage. Facing 5.0 against Hisoka, I will be even more unbearable. 95, just at this time. Sudden, a loud explosion sounded. Everyone's eyes turned to look at the past, is to see. Yuvijin raised his fist high. After, fell heavily. Super Destruction Fist. 35, a burst of extremely strong momentum erupted from Yuvijin's fist. That's Yuvijin's kill. It's not really hair, it's just condensing ki in the fist. A huge depression in the ground appeared. Yuvijin's figure, just quietly, stood at the bottom. The shape of the earthworm disappeared. There was only one arm left, still resting on Yuvijin's hand. Yuvijin threw the half arm on the ground in disgust. Who else? Yuvijin looked at the remaining 3 beasts, and the fighting intent in his eyes became more and more intense. Totally excited. Chapter 145, Kurapika's goal. The expressions of the remaining 3 beasts became very solemn. Richard looked this way. At this time, the earthworm is not actually dead. Earthworms don't just burrow and also break the arm. When sensing the enormous power on Yuvijin's fist, the earthworm voluntarily abandoned his arm and burrowed deeper into the ground. Because of Richard's appearance, the beasts became more cautious. Earthworms break their arms faster than the original plot. At this time, the earthworms were not seriously injured. The figure came to the very depths of the ground. If it is replaced by other none, it can be noticed. But Yuvijin, unaware, thought the worm had been punched to death by himself. My ability, I can restrain this person a little. I restrain him, you go to restrain others. It is good. The porcupine charged at Yuvijin with a solemn expression. One, can't you see my true strength now? The 3 go together. You still have some chances. 1, then you can only die. Yuvijin punched out. And at this moment, the porcupine's body, the hair, suddenly grew up. Directly penetrated Yuvijin's arm. Stuck. 09, let Yuvijin's fist not touch the porcupine. Yuvijin's expression changed. Damn! Yuvijin swung the porcupine in his hands and slammed it to the ground. But the porcupine immediately softened the fur on its back and turned it into a cushion. Shalnark looked at the porcupine. It is possible to pierce Yuvijin's skin and muscles. These beasts must not be underestimated. Everyone be careful. Phaeton glanced lightly. It's that Yuvijin is too weak. Such an opponent, I can solve them all by myself. Next moment, Phaeton's figure flashed. Richard looked at Phaeton. According to Richard's judgment, among the Phantom Troop, there are 3 none who can reach rank B. One is Crusoe, and the other is Hisoka. The remaining one is Phaeton, conjurer capable, especially good at speed. The weapon used is a hidden sword, but not like Nobunaga. Nobunaga is specialized in drawing swords, and Phaeton, more of a sword as a tool. Killing is the scorching sun. turns Ki into an extremely scorching fireball. The heat can burn everything down. Consume a lot. Only use it if you have to, or if you're extremely angry. The ability to match is unforgivable. That is, a set of thermally insulated clothing. Make yourself immune to the heat of the scorching sun. Otherwise, Phaeton will become a nun who died under his power. Compared to other people, Phaeton has less affection for his companions. In a drama, after Euvigen's death, there is no desire to avenge Euvigen. After Krallo was kidnapped, he didn't want to exchange hostages to rescue Krallo. Strictly implement the principle that the existence of the brigade is the first. In the whole brigade, the relationship with Finks is the best. A combination of two, similar to Gon and Killua. It's all a conjurer with an enhancer. In comparison, the combination of Nabinaga and Euvigen is actually an alternative. The two enhancer people can actually be combined together. In terms of personality, it is actually not very harmonious. So fast, when the sick dog saw Phaeton in front of him, he subconsciously retreated. Did you notice it? Phaeton frowned. Then, I take back what I just said. You're not a pure waste, but a waste with a little value. Bring out all your strength. Let me play and have fun. Euvigen was a little dissatisfied. Phaeton, as I said, they're all mine. Euvigen, you'd better solve your problem first. Phaeton glanced at Euvigen and said, from a moment you fall into a disadvantage, this game is not yours. Am I at a disadvantage? Euvigen's face darkened. Isn't it? The guy hurt you, but you can't do anything about him. Shalnark quickly interrupted the two. Euvigen, Phaeton, stop arguing and settle the fight quickly. 35. The rest of the Een Beast may be coming to support us soon. The regiment leader is still waiting for us. Let's not waste any more time here and make a quick decision. 5 Phaeton and Euvigen just stopped bickering. This kind of bickering is not uncommon in the brigade. Euvigen has a flamboyant personality, and Phaeton is a notorious Een and Yang strange gas, mouth fragrant. However, such disputes will only remain on the surface. Click to stop. Shizuku took out the vacuum cleaner. Then, let me be your opponent. Shizuku looked at the leech on the opposite side. To speak of a sick dog, it is half a fighting faction. Then the leech is a pure non-combat faction. The ability of the leech is to cultivate all kinds of leeches in its own body. Some of these leeches have healing abilities, while others are capable of causing harm to the human body. But this damage is not directly caused. Instead, it needs to enter the body of the enemy. To put it bluntly, the leech itself has no fighting ability, and its positioning is treatment and torture. Shizuku is not a fighting faction either, but stronger than the leech, Shizuku's fighting ability and physique are stronger. And vacuum cleaners are more convenient than leeches when used in battle. Because of the tragic state of earthworms, even if Shizuku looks like a harmless girl, leeches dare not underestimate Shizuku. The leech's expression was solemn. Procrastination? Yes, my task is just to delay time. Franklin looked at Kurapika and raised his arms. But at this time, sudden, an arm, extending from behind Franklin, grabbed one of Franklin's legs. After that, he pulled down suddenly. Suddenly, 0:53. Half of Franklin's body instantly fell into the ground. It's earthworms. Compared to the last time, the earthworms are a little smarter this time. Soften the soil under Franklin's feet in advance. In this way, Franklin will not be like Euvigen. There is a place to borrow. These people are really strong. But now, I'm going to kill at least one person. There was a ruthless look on the earthworm's face. Franklin, Shalnark looked this way worriedly. And at this time, sudden, Kurapika moved. The line of sight continued to flow, and then stopped on Shalnark's body. Kurapika judged it. Euvigen, Phaeton, Franklin are all fighting factions in the brigade. In other words, a brigade's weapon. Shizuku can't see it at the moment, but Kurapika knew that Shizuku was not involved in the genocide of the Cave Skull Tower clan that year. Nabinaga and Magi on the other side. Then the most suitable for capturing is Shalnark. Judging from Shalnark's performance just now, Shalnark's strength is not strong among the brigade, but Shalnark's position is very special, similar to the role of a military division. Capturing such a person is the most appropriate. More information is available. In the original plot, Kurapika did not choose, can only capture Yuvajin. But now, Kurapika has options. So, Kurapika took aim at Shalnark. Chapter 146, Richard Save Me, taking advantage of Shalnark's attention. Kurapika approached Shalnark suddenly. A chain stretched toward Shalnark. Middle finger binding chains. 39 Kurapika is the manipulator's power user when he does not open his red eyes. There are 5 different chains. The middle finger binding the chain will force the opponent to enter a state of absolute absoluteness. Entering the absolute, then the mind cannot be used, and only the power of the body can be used. This is a huge blow to the nun. Even a person like Yuvajin, who only adds measurements, still cannot rely on the strength of his body to break free from the shackles. Very unreasonable. Even a hooligan. But the reason why Kurapika's ability is so strong is because Kurapika uses restraint and oath. Kurapika's restraint chain can only be used by people of Phantom Troop. In other words, as long as the person quits the Phantom Troop, then Kurapika cannot use it. Once used, Kurapika will suffer backlash and die. This is the price of restraint and oath. Thumb heal. The chain can heal wounds, whether it's your own or someone else's. But in normal state, Kurapika's healing ability is not very strong. Healing is something that belongs to Enhancer. Manipulator is only 60% of the content of Enhancer. When Kurapika turns on the red eye state, this ability can be used to 100%. Ring finger tracking lie detector. This is a great skill for gaining intelligence. The little finger, the chain of commandments, stabs the chain into the opponent's heart and sets rules for the opponent. Once the opponent violates it, the chain will pierce the opponent's heart. In the plot, Kurapika did this to Crusoe, but this kind of thing will be restrained by the removal teacher. Index finger, chain of plunder. It can draw the other party's key and make the other party enter a state of absoluteness. After that, you can parse and use each other's nun. Kurapika's abilities are very comprehensive. Attack, control, and cure basically all scruples. And the ability to develop skills like this is because Kurapika has red eyes. When the red eye state is turned on, all the abilities of other departments can be brought into play to 100%. Shalnark didn't respond. Kurapika's chains are too fast. Even Yuvajin, Crusoe, get caught by Kurapika. Not to mention Shalnark, which is much worse than them. Shalnark is good at not fighting, just strategy and planning. However, these things can only be perfected under the condition of controlling enough information. Information for Kurapika, not for Shalnark. For the people at Phantom Troop, Kurapika, it just came out of nowhere. What? Shalnark was taken aback. But by this time, the chains had bound Shalnark. Forced Shalnark into an absolute state. Skavara drive. 9 Kurapika didn't stop. Instead, take Shalnark and get in the car right away. An engine roar sounded. Before everyone could react, Skavala had already turned around and walked towards Yuk Exion City. The Eam Beast, Phantom Troop, was stunned for a moment. Maggie wanted to move subconsciously, but was stopped by Richard. Maggie, sorry, it's still in my deal with Kurapika. Nabinaga's face sank. To take Shalnark away, now is not the time to play. Huashur Dolong, get out of the way. Otherwise, I really killed you. Huashur Dolong shook his head. My mission is to contain you, and now I have a rough idea of your abilities and strengths. I don't think you can kill me. 35, then try it. 35, the aura of Nabinaga changed suddenly. Become very sharp. And the imposing manner of Huashur Dolong has also become very sharp. Drawing knife technique. Tiger bite fist. The hair of the two appeared at the same time. A translucent tiger head appeared to Huashur Dolong's fist. The mouth of the blood basin opened wide. Nabinaga drew his knife in a split second. Ding! The two collided. One is strength and sharpness. The fist of the tiger bite, imitating the action of tiger biting. One is the ultimate sharpness. Nabinaga's knife touched Huashur Doru's fist. A smear of blood appeared on Huashur Dolong's fist mark. But no further. Huashur Doru's ki is not much weaker than that of Nabinaga. Boom! The two retreated at the same time. Nobunaga took 7 or 8 steps back, steadying himself. As for Huash or Dolang, he took a dozen steps back and bumped into a rock. Stone leaves. Huash or Doru's figure stopped. Franklin's face turned ugly. In beast, if Shalnark is damaged in the slightest, I will never let you go. A voice sounded. Crack. Franklin's finger is broken. Two-handed machine gun. Countless bullets poured out towards the ground. Immediately, mud splashed. Puffed. A thought projectile was shot into the body of the earthworm. The face of the earthworm changed suddenly. Escape. The worm quickly released Franklin. Go all out to go deeper into the ground. A huge pothole appeared under Franklin's feet. Not as good as Yuvajan's punch, but densely packed. All are single holes. If the earthworms do not escape, the end will not be much better. We'll become a living, human sieve. Richard looked in the direction of Yuvajan. In the plot, Yuvajan kills the porcupine with a loud roar. Similar to when an airplane flies over, the glass of the building below will shatter. When the porcupine strengthens its hair, the porcupine's hair becomes needle-like and very hard. Yuvajan's voice and porcupine's hair reach resonance. Then it can cause a lot of damage to the porcupine and kill the porcupine. It is a different concept from the lion's roar. If it is really lion's roar, then Yuvajan doesn't need to be so troublesome at all. With a roar, the 4 Een beasts died at the same time. Because the Een beasts are all of the same level, roaring dead porcupines, there's no reason to roar earthworms, sick dogs, and leeches. However, it also has a considerable impact on others. Otherwise, the other, Lihao, members of Phantom Troop would not cover their ears in the plot. 66, probably because there are Phantom Troop people fighting nearby, so Yuvajan doesn't want to use this trick. And at this time, Phaeton's aura changed. Got weird. Very dark. The sick dog was suddenly startled. Originally, the sick dog had already lost to Phaeton and had been at a disadvantage. And now, Phaeton's momentum has risen, but the sick dog has reached its limit. Can't go on. Otherwise, I shall surely die. The sick dog suddenly looked in Richard's direction. Richard, save me. Is the sick dog desperately running towards Richard's location? From the sick dog's point of view, only Richard's strength is above Phantom Troop in the crowd. Only Richard can save himself. But that's totally a medical emergency. Richard and the sick dog have only had one transaction. The two are not even friends. Richard can't stand up and stop Phaeton for the sick dog. Chapter 147, Are You Threatening Me? Richard glanced at the sick dog, but didn't make a move. To put it bluntly, whether it is Phantom Troop or Een Beast, Richard has little friendship with them. Made a deal with the Een Beast, Richard cooperatively dealt with a grudge incident. But it was not the Een Beasts who mainly resolved the grievances, but Richard in Yorkshire. And with Phantom Troop, Richard only made 2 trades. Why talk to Maggie so much? Because Richard suspects Phantom Troop has a medium in his hands. The medium is Richard's goal. Phaeton is getting closer and closer to the sick dog. 35, a sword pierced. Penetrate. Phaeton drew his sword. Blood splashed out. The sick dog's eyes widened. Thick unwillingness appeared in the eyes of the sick dog. Do not. I don't want to die yet. Phaeton kicked the sick dog down with one kick. The sick dog's body rolled a few times on the ground, twitching. Stop quickly. Phaeton's eyes turned to Richard. Tell me about the person who captured Shalnark. You said just now. You were hired by that person. Then you know his situation well. Now, immediately give me his address and all the information. Phaeton approaches Richard. Richard frowned. Are you threatening me? No. I'm just asking you at 053. 95 Phaeton glanced at Maggie next to him, probably planning to give Maggie face and forcibly suppress his temper. Otherwise, Phaeton would have stabbed Richard with a sword already. Then it is a transaction. Since it is a transaction, then you should come up with equal conditions. Richard said, what I need, including information on the cult and information on the Dark Sonata, can be a condition of the transaction if you know it. Also, if you know about the media, you can give me information about the media. It's okay to not understand. Phaeton's face sank. I want to give you information. Certainly. Richard looked directly at Phaeton and said, information exchange follows fair and equal conditions. If you don't have it, Then why should I give you my information? 99 at that time. I bought information from you, Phantom Troop, and I spent 20 million ren. Enough. Phaeton interrupted Richard. Don't change the subject here. I'm going to ask you a question now. You will not tell me the information about the Chain BD. The current situation is that the people in our brigade were taken away by him. I don't have the information you want. Ajfa, but if you don't say it, I won't be polite to you. Even if Maquis has friendship with you, my sword will not take this into consideration. Phaeton turned to Maggie. Maggie, the interests of the brigade come first, right? Maggie didn't speak. Now Maggie is still immersed in the information that Richard is giving. Disaster creatures, dark continent, vectors, infected, believers, stealers. These things cannot be consumed in a short time. Maggie is reminiscing about some old events of the brigade. Are you threatening me? You can take that as a threat. A strong momentum erupted from Phaeton, crushing Richard. However, this is not enough for Richard. In terms of overall strength, Richard is only stronger than Phaeton. In terms of defense and physique, Richard is far superior to Phaeton. Even Yuvigin, the strongest in the brigade, was not as good as Richard. I don't think you will be stronger than Hisoka. 5. What's the meaning? I mean, even Hisoka is not my opponent. If you're not as good as Hisoka, you're even less likely to be my opponent. If you choose to do it, I can guarantee that you will regret it. And don't you think it's unreasonable for you to threaten me? There is no enmity between me and your brigade. I just accepted the hire. Correct. Richard recalled for a while and said, I remember one thing. The 8th member of your brigade died at the hands of a person named Silva Zoldyck. If you really value your companions so much, why don't you seek revenge on the Zoldyck family? Krallo tried to attack Silva, but failed. And after that failure, Phantom Troop never tried to take a shot at the Zoldyck family. Phaeton's face became even more ugly. Why not get revenge on Zoldyck? Because I can't beat it. This is very obvious. Can't beat it. What revenge? To die? You even know about this? Are you related to someone from the Zoldyck family? Just know a few of them. Point 35, Richard paused and said, I have the information, but I will not provide it for free. I only exchange information. If you have the information I need, I can exchange it with you. If not, then please. Phaeton hesitated. Phaeton hates Hisoka, but Phaeton also acknowledged Hisoka's strength. No weaker than yourself. From Richard's words, Phaeton heard one thing, that Hisoka once lost to Richard. Phaeton couldn't help but look in Maggie's direction. I just feel that Maggie's state is very abnormal now. Phaeton doesn't understand Maggie's relationship with Richard. Next to Nobunaga and Kaisher Turo's battle is about to be technical. Phaeton stopped, decided to wait for Nobunaga's fight to end, and then put pressure on Richard together. Alone, Phaeton wasn't sure. But for the two of them, Phaeton didn't think Richard could be tough. Franklin went to Shizuku. One leg was badly injured. Not by earthworms. It was Franklin himself. With two-handed machine guns, Franklin used his legs as a target to fire together. More than a dozen bullets were shot into the legs. Shizuku, get out of the way. It is good. Shizuku's figure flickered to the side. After that, Franklin's chanting was activated. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Countless bullets shot at the leech. Too many, covering too much area. So much so that the leeches have nowhere to hide. A bullet was shot into the body of the leech. But at this time, next to the leech, a hole in the ground suddenly appeared. A hand stretched out and pulled the leech down fiercely. The shape of the leech disappeared on the ground. Nobunaga took a deep breath. The difficulty of the battle with Kaisher Turo was beyond Nobunaga's imagination. Even now, Nobunaga has defeated Hua Shidoru. However, Nobunaga's state has also fallen to the extreme. This guy is not weak. It's like Yuvigin a few years ago. 35 Nobunaga retracted the knife, looked at Phaeton, looked at Richard, and walked over. Richard, give me the information about the Chain BD. Count me. Owe you a favor. Shalnark is our partner. 35, I don't want Shalnark to die. You can understand such a thing. If Washer Dolong encountered such a thing, what would you do? Chapter 148. The death of the sick dog Richard was silent for a while. I can understand your feelings, but I can't say why. Because that's part of my deal with Kurapika. Richard said, however, I can give you a message. What? Shalnark is your partner. Yes, but Kurapika, a member of the Karuta tribe. The Karuta tribe you exterminated. This time, he is here for revenge. And the Kuskata clan, that's what I'm investigating. So I'll make a deal with Karapika. Some other things I told Maggie. If you want to know, you can ask Maggie. Nabinaga froze for a moment. Is it Red Eye? Phantom Troop is a gang of thieves who kill countless. Many people were killed, even giving back to Meteor Street. It cannot change the nature of Phantom Troop as a criminal group. However, Nabinaga also understands something. You can kill yourself. Then others can naturally take revenge. Nabinaga was suddenly relieved that Shalnark had been captured by Karapika. Phaeton frowned. Nabinaga, you're not going to ignore Shalnark, are you? Even if the chain BD is a Kaluta, so what? Shalnark is our partner, isn't it? I didn't say number 55. Nabinaga looked at Richard. Richard, what conditions do you need to tell us about Karapika? What can't be said, I won't say. What can be said, you can exchange information on the cult, the information on the Dark Sonata, the information on the media, and the information on the infected. 35. Nabinaga was at a loss. What is that? Phaeton stepped forward and pressed his hand on the hilt. Obviously, it is planning to make a move. Nabinaga, you go with me. I don't believe he can keep saying it. 95. Sudden. A very strong breath appeared behind the two of them. Powerful, creepy, terrifying, dark, like a monster appeared. Phaeton and Nabinaga turned sharply. Is to see. A cloud of darkness emerged from the sick dog's corpse. Death of sick dog. The thought in life, with the resentment of death, has become the thought of death, which will be stronger than before. At this time, the sick dog's thought of death changed dramatically. Richard frowned. The sick dog before his death has only a D level. So now, the sick dog's thought of death has reached the C+ level. So much resentment. If in the plot, the sick dog had such a strong thought of death, maybe Yuvajan would have been killed by the sick dog's thought of death before Karapika could act. Phaeton and Nabinaga's expressions became extremely serious. Naturally, they have also been in contact with the thought of death and know the horror of the thought of death. The thought of the sick dog's death gave them a great sense of oppression, stronger than anything they had ever met before. Nabinaga, be careful. Maggie also looked over. Phaeton drew his sword out. Strong. The three of them entered into a state of firmness at the same time. Next moment, the thought of death of the sick dog swooped down suddenly. But to the surprise of the three, the sick dog's thought of death was not directed at them, but at Richard. Richard die. Richard froze for a moment. Richard didn't understand the situation. Kill me? Didn't Phaeton kill you? What does it have to do with me? It's in vain that I believe in you so much, but you are not helping me. A roar erupted from the sick dog's mouth. Richard got it. This sick dog, because he did not save him, concentrated all his grievances on himself. Turn a blind eye to Phaeton, the murderer. Richard smiled. One irony. 9. Maybe this is human nature. 95. This reminded Richard of something. A deceased, endured by school violence, died after becoming a ghost. Retaliated. But he first took revenge, not those who violate him. Rather, it is revenge on those who have nothing to do with him at ordinary times. It's just because you turned a blind eye that day, I was violently killed by them. So I killed you. It was right. It was you who killed me. Are those who turn a blind eye really wrong? Indeed there is. Should indeed be punished, but not far enough to need to be killed. Some people like double standards, confusing concepts. The one who turns a blind eye is not the one who kills him. The one who inflicted violence on him was the one who killed him. He wants revenge, but only those who have inflicted violence on him. Why would anyone agree with this? To put it bluntly, it is still bullying the soft and afraid of the hard. So, if you're a person who bullies the weak and fears the hard, what qualifications do you have to blame those who are afraid and dare not meddle in their own affairs? The bigger the mistake, the bigger the punishment. This is fair. People who make big mistakes don't dare to provoke them. Those who make small mistakes will be held accountable. It's disgusting. Why should I save you? Are you and I friends? Are we partners? There is no friendship between us. Not even a deal right now. Fighting the Phantom Troop to save you? Richard shook his head. A picture scroll appeared in Richard's hands. Picture agreed. After, the picture scroll suddenly became longer and wider. Immediately, The thought of death of the sick dog was shrouded in it. This picture scroll cannot restrain a sick dog. Mental pollution has no effect on sick dogs. After all, the sick dog is dead. It's just a bunch of thoughts. No energy. However, the thought of death in the picture scroll can deal with the thought of death. Dozens of thoughts of death are parasitic in the picture of greed. Weak, such as Koken, burrows. And the stronger one is the face, the giant spider. Face shadow is C grade. The giant spider has reached the B level. In the face of so many thoughts of death, the sick dog's thoughts of death, there is no possibility of winning. Constantly being torn apart. Do not. The sick dog's thought of death, looking at his body alive, was torn apart and swallowed. Become food for those thoughts of death. Disappear little by little. And this is only for a while. The sick dog's thought of death disappeared, and the scroll returned to its normal appearance and returned to Richard's hands. With a thought of Richard, he disappeared. Phaeton and Nobunaga looked serious. They felt the intensity of the sick dog's thought of death. Not weak at all. Even Phaeton was a little afraid. But in Richard's hands, it was solved so easily. How strong is Richard? Phaeton didn't dare to do it again. The strength shown by Richard is too tyrannical. Nobunaga was silent. Richard glanced at Phaeton and Nobunaga, then at Maggie. It's over. I'll leave first. By the way, Maggie, don't tell anyone about the information I told you, even the people in your brigade. If that thing is true, this proves that they are not necessarily trustworthy. Huasher Dolong, let's go. Yes, Captain. And Chapter 149, The Death of the Een Beast. Subscribe. Watching Richard and Huasher Dolong leave, Phaeton's eyes flickered. Nobunaga was silent. Marge, what did Richard tell you? Maggie looked at Phaeton, recalling Richard's words. In the current situation, Maggie couldn't be sure whether Phaeton's value was trustworthy. Nothing. Nothing? 35-inch Phaeton frowned. Nothing. Why did Richard say that? Maggie, are you going to betray the brigade? Nobunaga put his hand on the handle of the knife. Phaeton, all of us, put the best interests of the brigade as the most important point, and no one will change this, no matter what Richard said to Maggie. If Maggie doesn't say it, there must be her reasons. It's for the sake of the brigade. The bigger issue now is what happened to Shalnark being kidnapped, not the time for infighting. Phaeton snorted coldly. I hope the 053 you're talking about is true. Otherwise, I don't mind clearing the door. Point 39, including you, Nobunaga. Of the 4 Een beasts, one has already died, a sick dog. The remaining 2, earthworms and leeches, hide in the ground. Porcupine killed by Yuvigin. On the Phantom Troop side, except for Shalnark, who was taken away, and Franklin, who was injured by his own bullet, the rest of the people were not hurt. From this, we can see the gap between Phantom Troop and Een Beast. Without Richard and Kurapika, Phantom Troop will pay less. Shalnark was taken, and the only thing that is certain now is that the man's name, Kurapika, and he is the remnant of the Karuta tribe. Kaluta tribe? Yuvigin showed a look of memory. The ones with fiery red eyes. Yes. 99. No wonder. Those people were not weak back then. 35 Phaeton glanced at Maggie and Nobunaga and said, from Richard's mouth, this is the information we got, and most of our brigade's intelligence channels are in the hands of Shalnark. What are your thoughts now? Franklin was silent for a moment. Contact the captain. There's not enough intelligence. We want to find Shalnark. It is almost impossible. Do not know if there is any special ability to track there. So be it. Phaeton called. Talk to Krallo about the ins and outs. Hang up the phone. Phaeton looked at Maggie again. Maggie, after this matter is over, I hope you can give the brigade a reasonable explanation. 99 hearing this, Franklin and Shizuka couldn't help but look at Maggie. Yuvigin frowned. From the beginning, Yuvigin was entangled with the porcupine. Yuvigin didn't know about the other side of things. What happened? Richard was hired by Kurapika to restrain our people. Richard must know a lot about Kurapika, but Richard refused to tell me the information. And when I was about to force Richard, Maggie tried to stop me. I have to wonder, Maggie, if you betrayed the brigade. Yuvigin glanced at Maggie. Maggie will never betray the brigade. I can guarantee this. I hope so. Shizuku took a look. So shall we go back to the base first? Let's go back. But at this time, suddenly, a figure appeared in the sky, a male with huge bat wings. Phaeton frowned. Are you here again? Look at this, it's still a beast. Shizuku glanced back. There are 5 more in the back, and if you count the 4 before, there are 10 in total, and you're all there. 35, a young man with long curly black hair and sharp, slender nails. A middle-aged man with a blindfold and no arms. An old man with a beard, thin body. A middle-aged, blonde, muscular build. The remaining one is the leader of the beast, Xiao. Manipulator ability. You can materialize a special cloth, wrap anything in the cloth, and then shrink it. The world's gangsters transfer the auction items, using this ability of the owl. In the drama, Crusoe and Silva, Gino, also use this ability during their battle. It's Crusoe, the owl's ability to steal. Go. You're not their opponents. Their strength is much stronger than we expected. A figure breaking out of the ground. It's an earthworm hiding in the ground. The worms haven't left yet. Earthworm. Xiao Xiao looked at the earthworm and frowned. How are you? Both the leech and I were badly injured. The sick dog and the porcupine were dead. Blindfold surprised. The sick dog died? How did it die? On the opposite side was Phantom Troop. The sick dog was killed by the man named Phaeton and was run over the whole time. Owl's face changed. Withdraw. Escape? Now that you're here, you still want to go? Not so good. 35, Phaeton snorted coldly and moved instantly. Yuvijin, Nobunaga, Shizuku, Maggie act simultaneously. Franklin didn't move. Franklin was seriously injured because of the bullet. The bat aimed at the bottom and roared suddenly. A burst of ultrasound hit Phantom Troop's man. Yuvijin grinned. Open your mouth wide. The voices of the two collided in midair, and a sonic boom erupted. Yuvijin grunted. But the bat in midair was equally uncomfortable and was a little dizzy. In this collision, no one stood to be cheap. Yuvijin's roar is just a conventional method, not too strong. Bats specialize in ultrasound, but their level is limited. So the two are equal. After regaining consciousness, the bat immediately raised its height. This is the bat's advantage. Phantom Troop, who can't fly. As long as it's high enough, the Phantom Troop's men can attack the bat. However, in this case, the bat's attack would not be able to reach Yuvijin. So the situation became like this. Come down if you have the ability. Come up if you have the ability. The bat did not act rashly. 5.0. The death of the sick dog and the porcupine and the reminder of the earthworm made the bat become cautious. To put it bluntly, the beast and the world gang are an employment relationship. You can sacrifice your life for money. But in the case of knowing that he will die, the beast is not so stupid. Different from the plot. The beast in the plot has no clear understanding of its own strength and that of Phantom Troop. But now there are beasts. You know you can't beat it, but keep fighting? Beast has already moved his mind to leave. And now the problem is the people of Phantom Troop don't want the people of Beast to leave. Lot was moved early, Shalnark's death. All made the people of Phantom Troop very angry. Now these beasts have become members of the Phantom Troop, venting their anger. Moreover, the people of Phantom Troop want to obtain information about the auction item and Kurapika from the hand of the beast. Chapter 150. Run away, run away. Nobunaga came to the middle-aged man with blonde hair. Round. A circle with a radius of 3 meters appeared around Nobunaga's body. Within this range, Nobunaga can clearly perceive everything. Even a little vibration. The blonde-haired middle-aged body is condensing. Enhancer. Nobunaga couldn't help but recall the Hanisher Doru just now. A fight. Compared to Huasher Dolong, you are far behind. Not to mention compared to Yuvijin. If that's the case, then I'll make a quick decision. There was a look of disappointment in Nobunaga's eyes. The strength of this beast, in fact, is not much worse than that of Huasher Dolong. 1D plus, 1D grade. Huasher Dolong is just a little bit higher. However, Huasher Dolong is followed by Richard. It is a path similar to the source of the heart. It is a lot stronger than the wild way of the beast. Moreover, Nobunaga could feel the visible progress of Tura Kaisher. But this beast did not give Nobunaga this feeling. After falling into a disadvantage, the disadvantage of this beast is only getting bigger and bigger. makes Nobunaga feel very boring, very disappointed. A wound appeared on the chest of the blondine beast. Blood splashed out. The blondine beast's face became ugly. "Boss, save me." However, at this time, Xiao Xiao couldn't care about it all, because Owl's opponent is Phaeton. Phaeton's speed is too fast. Perfectly restrain the Owl. In terms of strength, Owl can be considered AC rank, and the regular members of the Phantom Troop are one level. If Owl and Shizuku compete, the winner will not necessarily be Shizuku, but Phaeton's strength is B rank. The two are separated by a level, and at this time, Phaeton poured all his anger into the opponent in front of him. "Are you the leader of the beasts? Then the transfer of the auction items. You must know. And that skill BD named Kurapika. Today you can't go anywhere." Nobunaga's figure suddenly flashed. Knives out. A semicircle is drawn across the front. The blondine beast didn't have time to react. Nobunaga's knife had cut the throat of the blonde beast. The blood vessels, including the trachea, were all cut. Oh, some blood immediately perfused into the organ. The blondine beast tightly covered his throat. But even the nun, who suffered such damage, could not continue to survive. The essence of none is still human. Nobunaga withdrew his knife. On the other side, Maggie put her blindfold on. Maggie did not approach immediately, but ran around the blindfold and ran quickly. However, in the process of running, some thought lines appeared behind Maggie. Circle after circle. The blindfold was a little anxious. His ability, in fact, is all above the eyes. Just take off the blindfold and look at each other. You can pull the opponent into your own fantasy. However, Maggie was clearly aware of this and didn't look into the blindfold's eyes. Maggie's intuition told Maggie that that might be dangerous. Put your head down and lay out the line of thought. After that, there was a sudden pull, so the thought line shrank instantly, wrapping the eye mask around. A huge force acts on the blindfold, and these lines of thought are extremely sharp. There are bloodstains on the body of the blindfold. The skin is split. Ended. Maggie moved her fingers. A thought line fell on the neck of the blindfold. After, puff, the neck of the blindfold was directly strangled. In less than a few minutes, 2 of the 6 people from the Een Beast had already died, and the remaining few people are all at a disadvantage. Owl gritted his teeth. Run. There is no chance of winning now. Then the best result is to run as much as you can. When the bat in the sky heard this sound, it hurriedly vibrated its wings and raised its height again. The bat knows very well that the higher the Phantom Troop, the harder it is for the Phantom Troop to attack himself. Yuvigen's face was not very good looking. 2 fights. I was pierced by a porcupine's hair before, and now I can't do anything with a bat. Nobunaga's record next door is much better than my own. This situation made Yuvigen very dissatisfied. I can't believe it. Yuvigen picked up a stone from the ground and smashed it hard in the direction of the bat. Call out. The sound of breaking the sky sounded. The bat didn't have time to dodge. A hole appeared in one of the wings. The bat turned back and glared at Yuvigen. Concentrate the key on the wound and quickly go in the direction of Yukursin. Shizuku's strength is at the bottom of the brigade. Among the Phantom Troop, Shizuku is mainly responsible for collecting and transporting materials and is a tool person. But Shizuku's opponent, the curly-haired youth, was also among the Een Beasts, and his strength was not that strong. The two fought for more than a dozen rounds, each with injuries. The current situation made the curly-haired youth want to evacuate. But at this moment, Shizuku raised his vacuum cleaner. A huge force erupted from the vacuum cleaner, acted on the youth with curly hair. It was to see that the blood on the curly-haired youth kept pouring out from the wound, little by little, floating towards the vacuum cleaner in Shizuku's hand. This was Shizuku's ability. You can inhale everything that Shizuku does not consider to be living things into the vacuum cleaner. Once it starts to work, then the situation of the youth with curly hair will get worse and worse. This is actually somewhat similar to Richard's fighting style. Richard's mental pollution is also slowly acting on the other side. Both are good at wars of attrition. The longer it goes on, the bigger the advantage will be for Richard and Shizuku. The curly-haired youth turned ugly. The blood continued to flow out of the wound, making the curly-haired youth become weaker and weaker. The power is lost bit by bit. A feeling of dizziness struck the curly-haired youth's mind. 35, the curly-haired youth fell to the ground. Shizuku stepped forward. One vacuumed and snatched it up. Boom! The curly-haired youth had wounds again. The blood flow becomes faster and faster. I saw that the curly-haired youth twitched violently, and there was no movement. Shizuku controlled the vacuum cleaner and sucked the corpse of the curly-haired youth into the vacuum cleaner. There are only two beasts left, Owl and the old man. The earthworm stuck its head out from the ground, trying to save the owl. But after taking a look at the situation, the earthworm gave up. Feet and speed, offensive, too fierce. The earthworm suspected that as long as he showed himself beside the owl, he would be killed by Phaeton in an instant. Boss, I'm sorry. The earthworm came to the other side, next to the thin old man. With the bat gone, Yuvijin was diverting his target towards the old man. But before that, the figure of the old man was suddenly carried into the ground by earthworms. Yuvijin fluttered. Hateful. Yuvijin hit the ground hard with a punch, but the earthworm and the old man have long since disappeared. Richard returned to Ukexin and called Karapika. Karaika, did the torture come out with any information? Richard wanted to know if Shalnark had any information on the medium. Chapter 151 Beast. Falling apart, Kurapika glanced at Shalnark in front of him and shook his head. He didn't say anything. Richard hesitated. If you can't get any information, then you can give him a try. I also need the information on him. In exchange, I can share the information with you. It is good. Hang up. Shalnark's strength among the brigade is not that strong. However, Shalnark has often played the role of a decision-maker, second only to Krallo. A lot of times, Krallo's absence leaves Shalnark with a decision. Then, Richard will feel. If Krallo really knew the information about the medium, then, of the rest of the brigade, the one most likely to know was Shalnark. If there is no way, you can use the ability of the face to try. Although the doll's maid can't get all of Shalnark's memories, it's better than Shalnark's complete intellect. Karapika looked at Shalnark, a shadow flashing in her eyes. There was no Shalnark among the people of the Luda tribe in the genocide. Karapika just confirmed this with Hisoka. Shalnark was the brigade that joined later, but still a member of the Phantom Troop, and played the role of a military strategist. Shalnark knows more about Phantom Troop than the other members, not less. Don't tell me yet? A sharp blade pierced into Shalnark's body. Shalnark gasped, however, still did not speak. There was a trace of ferocity in Dihua eyes. Raised his fist, about to hit Shalnark. But at this moment, Dihoua's cell phone rang. Dihua withdrew his fist. You look at him. I'll go take a call. Karapika nodded. Dihua is the captain of Nine's Guard, but his own strength is not strong. But he has been with the Nasla family for a long time, not even the Ian Beast. In the plot, Dihua will die in the Ukexin incident, and Karapika will take advantage of this. Karapika hesitated and called Richard. It looks like we can't get anything out of torture here. This man has a tough mouth. Richard nodded. Got it. Give me the address, I'll go. 99 Karapika reported an address. Next to it are several other guards. Skavara, Plant and Melody, and the guard named Fei Jia had already died in the auction venue. The battle between Phantom Troop and the Ian Beast ended with the defeat of the Ian Beast. Except for the escaped earthworms, leeches, bats, and the old man, and the owl captured by Phaeton, the rest of the members died at the hands of Phantom Troop. At one time, more than half of the manpower was lost. The remaining 4 were basically injured. When the dilapidated building was moved, earthworms brought several people from ground. What are your plans now? Earthworm not only lost an arm, but also had several wounds on his chest, which were caused by Yuvijin's super destruction fist and Franklin's psychic bomb. There was not enough time, and it was difficult to recover. There was a hint of fear in the leech's eyes. Even the leader is defeated. We can't be the opponent of Phantom Troop at all. I don't want to continue. It doesn't make sense for the World Gang to spend more money. After all, life is the most important thing. I'm going to leave. 39. I don't want to deal with the World Gangster and Phantom Troop. The earthworm glanced at the leech. What about your family? Family? Leech hesitated for a moment, then said, if the World Gangs are still thinking about their old love, then I will take them all away. If the world gangsters kill them, then whatever. My family is gone. I can look for it again. I have saved enough money for so many years. The old man agreed with the leech idea. I have the same thoughts as leeches, knowing that we are invincible. If we continue, it will have no effect other than death. And I have no family, so I don't need to worry. Are you so willing? Bat's face sank. We are e'en beasts, but so many people have died, and we ourselves are not lightly injured in the hands of Phantom Troop. Should we just forget about it and not take revenge? To get revenge, you must have enough strength. We don't have it now. We don't have, but don't we still have world gangs? The bat said. Do you think that the world's gangsters will swallow this breath? So many people died, not only members of the gang, but also many guests. The death of our beast is, of course, also included in it. The auction item belongs to the leader. Now the leader has been captured by them. This time, all the auction items are in the hands of Phantom Troop. How much will the world gang lose this time? Trillions of 10,000 nuns, at least. It's definitely not going to be like that. I want revenge. Borrow the power of the world's gangsters and kill that ugly humanoid orangutan. Bat refers to Euvigen. I need to fix it for a while, and my current state can't help much. The earthworm said, since this is the case, let's spread out. The next moment, the earthworm drilled into the ground again, all the way down, all the way to a depth of several hundred meters. The earthworm just stopped. Hopefully when I wake up again, my arm has grown back. The earthworm glanced at his severed arm. The nun of earthworms is not just about burrowing into the ground. Rather, it mimics all the properties of earthworms. Rebirth from severed limb is also one of them. Just pay a huge price. Earthworms have the potential to recover without receiving extremely fatal injuries. Burying oneself in the soil is the condition of the earthworm's ability. Its constraints and vows. The leech and the old man chose to leave. The bat, on the other hand, returned to the world gangster. As teammates, I'll do you one last favor, and when the world gangster asks, I'll say you too have died in the battle with Phantom Troop. Thanks. Wang Zhao. Nabinaga glanced at the few people next to him and deliberately fell behind. Marge, what did Richard say to you, can you tell me? Even within the Phantom Troop, there are still small groups. Phaeton and Finks have a good relationship. And Maggie, Nabinaga, Euvigen knew each other before joining Phantom Troop. Pikenaten, Franklin, is a direct descendant of Krallo. Shalnark, Shizuku, joined later. Hisoka is an undercover agent. Flakeoff, Lev, and Kubiai, and also joined the fly behind. Maggie glanced ahead. One thing about the brigade, because of this news, I'm not sure whether the people in the brigade are trustworthy. Some people in our brigade have hidden secrets. Could it be an alienation plan? Not very likely. Maki shook her head and said, I seriously recall that things in the past were indeed wrong. Nabinaga, you should be aware of it. Chapter 152, Hisoka's Explanation. Subscription. Nabinaga frowned. Among the brigade, naturally not everyone has the same relationship, but the same thing we protect is the brigade, so it shouldn't make any difference. Are you really sure? Sure. Maggie shook her head and said, I used to think so too, but now I have a little doubt, and I can't fully trust everyone in the brigade. 39. The only people I can fully trust now are you and Euvigen. More than a dozen huge buildings appeared in the sight of everyone. Captain, the remaining 6 of Phantom Troop are all here. This is the temporary base of Phantom Troop. There is only one real building. The rest is copied by Kubiai using its own nun. The replica is almost identical to the real one. Duration of 24 hours. In the plot, Kubi used this ability to copy the members of the Phantom Troop, disguised as corpses, and at the same time copied all the auction items and auctioned the fakes out. Even according to the fake red eye, Kurapika was found. Because it is a replica of Kubiai, it has a circle effect. This is... Krallo looked at the owl in Phaeton's hands. This is the leader of the Ean Beast. Those auction items, it's this guy who moved, Phaeton said. Take advantage of his special nun. On the way back, Phaeton had already tortured Al-067. Torture is a hobby of Phaeton. Use all kinds of tormenting torture. Extracting nails, teeth, etc. Addicted to it. In this regard, Phaeton is an unquestionable pervert. What about the stuff? Not on this man. Phaeton glanced at Maggie and said, "By the way, Captain, there is something I must tell you." 39 what? I suspect that Maggie has become disloyal to our brigade. After these words fell, the remaining 6 people all looked at Maki. QB, Flakelev, Paikiniton, Krallo, Hisoka, Finks, Nobunaga, and Yuvajin calmly leaned beside Maggie. What's the meaning? Phaeton repeats what happened before. Number 1, when I was about to do something with Richard, Maggie tried to stop me. 99. Second, I asked Maggie what Richard said to her, but she refused to answer. These 2 points make me have to doubt. Krallo looked at Maggie. I'm sure Maggie won't. 9. It's just that Phaeton's suspicions do have some truth, Maggie. Can you talk about it? Maggie was silent. Because according to the information revealed by Richard, if the brigade really has a problem, then the biggest problem is none other than Krallo. Those words cannot be told to Krallo. I will always be loyal to the brigade. Phaeton snorted coldly. Don't even say a word of explanation. Always be loyal to what you talk about. Hisoka played with the cards in his hand with a thoughtful expression. Finks hesitated. Maggie, whether or not Richard was commissioned by the Chain BD to restrain our people, the current situation is Shalnark has been kidnapped. That's the key. Shalnark, that's our partner, isn't it? Richard is not. 35 Nobunaga looked at Finks and said, Shalnark being kidnapped is something we all don't want to see, but that has nothing to do with Maggie, not Maggie's business. Richard's task is to contain the 2 of us. In other words, our 2 people also restrained Richard and Huasher Dolong. The battleground of Shalnark and the Chain Bastards on the other side. 35, even Phaeton, you are even closer. Even you haven't reacted. Why should the responsibility be attributed to Maggie? 99 Phaeton glared at Nobunaga. The atmosphere became solemn. Franklin glanced up. Call out. A coin was thrown in front of Nobunaga and Phaeton. Franklin said, according to the old rule of the brigade, when there is a contradiction, it is judged by coin. On the front, Phaeton, you won't pursue this matter. On the other hand, Maggie, you will say everything Richard said to you. Ajfa. 5. How about it? Phaeton hesitated. It is good. But Maggie chose to shake her head. Sorry, I can't agree. Phaeton's face sank completely. Don't even follow the rules of the brigade? And you said you didn't betray the brigade? Phaeton put his hand on the hilt of the sword. Krallo stood aside, not saying a word. Cough. Hisoka coughed and drew everyone's attention. Hisoka, what do you want to do? Hisoka smiled. Have you ever thought about a question? What? It's not that Maggie doesn't want to say it. It's that she can't. Point 55. What's the meaning? Phaeton frowned. Literally, everyone is a nun. I don't need to say it so bluntly. It is very likely that Maggie's body has been set a limit. Once she speaks, she will die. You are persecuting like this. Isn't it just the way of the other party? 35. The expressions of everyone changed. Maggie, is that so? Maggie shook her head. Hisoka said, shaking his head, it doesn't mean it's not, but it means that you can't say. Maggie's reaction now has proved my speculation. Now you still want to continue tossing coins? Nobunaga picked up the coin from the ground and threw it back to Franklin. Franklin put the coin back in his pocket. Phaeton's eyes flickered. Then there's another question. If Maggie's constraints are not to say those words, then when I'm about to do something with Richard, Maggie, why do you want to stop me? Because you're not Richard's match. Maggie said, there is no direct conflict between Richard and our brigade. He just accepts employment. But if you shoot Richard, the meaning is completely different. You won't be Richard's match. If you don't believe me, you can ask Hisoka. Phaeton looked at Hisoka. Hisoka nodded. I lost to Richard, and when I did my best, Richard still had some left. If you feel that you can do Richard's level when facing me, then Maggie really doesn't need to stop you. But in fact, you can't. 99, even, you're not my opponent. Phaeton's face sank. I'm not your opponent. 35, of course. Isn't that the obvious thing? Phaeton resisted the urge to do it. But we weren't just me. Maggie couldn't do it. There were 6 of us, except for Shalnark, who was taken away by the Chain Bastards, and 5 of us. Do you mean that the 5 of us, together, are not Richard's opponents? Chapter 153. The 10 old man's decision 4. Nabinaga said, the man next to Richard. Huashidoru is not weak. At least he can contain Shizuku. For Richard, numbers mean nothing. 35 Hisoka said, Richard's abilities are quite special, and even if there are a lot of people who are lower than him, they can't pose a threat to Richard. I have experienced this. What is Richard capable of? Krallo looked over. I saw dash, there are 3. 35. 1 is the bullet. You don't need to pay too much attention. The power is not comparable to Franklin's bullet. 35. The second is to materialize a picture scroll. The picture scroll can stretch for a long time, forming a maze-like environment, very tough and difficult to break, which is why I say the number of people is useless. Because of being stuck in a maze, Richard can break through them individually. The third one is to make puppets. Doll. Krallo recalled. The former number 4 member of that brigade, the Face. The puppets made by Face Shadow are somewhat similar. They are very similar to humans, but their strength is a lot worse. That's what I see, Richard's abilities. Krallo nodded. This matter, stop here first. Maggie, since you can't say anything about those words, don't say it. I believe you. Right now, we're split into 2 squads. 99, a team to investigate the situation of Shalnirk. The Chain BD, we at least have his name. And he looks like you remember? Remember. Featon hesitated for a moment, then said, but the information about the auction is managed by Shalnirk, and the rest of us are not that familiar with that thing. I'll come by myself. That's fine, Krallo said. Featon, Finks, Flakelev, Pikenauten, Franklin, you and I are on the team. Yes. 35 Krallo looked at the other man. Hisoka, Nabinaga, Yuvijin, Maki, Kubiai, Shizuku, you go to investigate the whereabouts of those auction items. And what are the world gangsters going to do about this matter? 5 yes. Krallo, after all, is still suspicious of Maggie. Otherwise, it will not be distributed as such. Hisoka, Nabinaga, Yuvijin, Maggie, all were assigned to another group. Maggie understood this too and didn't say anything. Go on. 35 Featon watched the second team leave. Captain, don't you really believe Hisoka's statement? It's quite possible. Krallo said, none can really do what Hisoka said. But why did Richard forbid Maggie from telling those words to other people? For what I've learned, Richard and Maggie didn't have a good relationship. The two just made a few trades. What is it that needs to be kept so secret? More, Krallo didn't say. Nabinaga let Yuvijin branch off the others. Maggie, can you talk to me now? Maki glanced around and said, it's about the genocide incident of the Cave Skull Tower. We went directly because of the order of the regiment commander. 35, because the head of the regiment said he likes red eyes, and red eyes can be exchanged for a lot of money. But actually, red eye we didn't sell at a very high price. Those people from the Cthulhu tribe are very powerful. In comparison, it's not worth it at all. The head of the regiment said that he likes fiery red eyes, but the regiment leader did not leave any pair of fiery red eyes, but sold all the fiery red eyes. This is very unreasonable. Nabinaga frowned. Are you suspicious of the captain? Richard and I said something. In this world, there is something called a medium from which human beings can gain power, called a thief. However, it can also be controlled by a vector, called an infected person. The infected are no longer humans, but monsters. The emergence of red eye is probably because of the medium. Then, the head of the head, or the person behind the head of the head, must know the existence of the media, and because of this, we can explain why we attack the Cthulhu tribe. These things we don't know at all. There must be something wrong. What is the problem? I have to investigate. 35 before this, even the people in the brigade had to be suspicious. The only people I trust now are you and Yuvijin. 99, Nabinaga pondered for a while. Are you sure what Richard said is true? It is very likely to be true, because the logic makes sense. Don't talk to Yuvijin about this. Nabinaga hesitated for a while, then said, that guy is someone who can't keep secrets. If it's like what you said, then this may be a disaster for our brigade. 0, 4 flowers. 0, we are slowly investigating this matter. It just so happens that this Ukexan incident is an opportunity. Maggie nodded. The bat is back in the world gangster. 10 beasts. Only one remains. For the world's gangsters, is nothing less than a huge blow. Originally, the 10 old man hoped that the beast could immediately capture and kill the intruder. Did not expect. Beast is not the opponent's opponent. This situation made the 10 old men unexpected. The beast is already the most powerful fighting force in the hands of the world's gangsters. Now, that even the beasts can't be trusted, what else can they rely on? Those, who are they? 5, it's Phantom Troop. Bat said, they are very strong and are above us. We are not their opponents. To deal with them, we need more and stronger people. Better, a killer. Except for me and the earthworm, the rest of the members of the beast died at the hands of Phantom Troop. The news of the bat was quickly passed to the hands of the 10 old men. 10 old men, because of Singe's death, became 9 people in a short period of time. But it has now been added. Countless people below are staring at this position. As long as there is a vacancy, there must be countless people who follow one after another, swarming up. What are your thoughts? Should the auction be canceled? What are we going to do with Phantom Troop? A middle-aged man pondered for a while. The auction can never be canceled. Phantom Troop must be punished. The beast is gone, so we can only hire other people. Put it with money. Killer in every way. 39. This is about the face of our world's gangsters, so we can't just forget about it. So, a reward order was issued by the world gangster. Bounty for Phantom Troop. Live or die. A 2 billion ringney. And if you can capture the leader, you'll get a bounty of 4 billion ringney. But in fact, this so-called reward order is just a cover. It is equivalent to casting a wide net to see if you can catch fish. The Real killers are extra hired and Chapter 154, take the initiative to deliver to the door. I have arrived. Richard called Kurapika. I'll come down right now. 35 soon. Kurapika appeared downstairs. Shalnark was upstairs, and everyone else was temporarily swept away by me. Then go up quickly. Richard followed Kurapika to the interrogation room. Shalnark was chained to the bed. All limbs were bound. The eyes are also covered. Lots of wounds on the body. Obviously not long ago. Experienced a lot of torture. But Richard has no sympathy. That sort of thing Shalnark does to other people, only more, not less. Many people will forgive each other generously when a murderer shows regret, completely disregarding the man who was killed by him. This kind of person is usually called the Virgin W.R. The BCH and the Blessed Virgin are 2 completely different creatures. The latter is sacrificing oneself to help others. 067. The former is to sacrifice a third party to help others. Take the interests of others and do good deeds yourself. Very disgusting. No matter which world, there are such creatures. In this world, the same is true. Richard remembers that in the plot, the chimeric ants killed so many people and ate so many people because the Ant King and the guard showed the friendship of partners. Friendship and kinship appeared on the chimeric ants. Those so-called professional hunters were moved to tears. What? Do those who are eaten and killed by ants deserve it? Also, in the Island of Greed, the 3 explosion demons killed so many players. In the end, Gon forgave the bomb demon. Moreover, he also gave a piece of Archangel's breath to the exploding demon instead of treating Killua's hands. Richard could never do such a thing. A recorder appeared in Richard's hand. Afterwards, Richard pointed the recorder at Shalnark's head. Make dolls. Face Shadow's thought of death is hidden in the recorder. Soon, Shalnark's memory was extracted. Go to a quiet place. This way, Kurapika took Richard to a separate room. Richard took out his recorder. The next moment, I saw a puppet taking shape at an extremely fast speed. A doll made by extracting Shalnark's own memory. Doll Shalnark has 1/10 the strength of Shalnark. Part of Shalnark's memory. Kurapika glanced at the puppet Shalnark, not too surprised. No more about none. Kurapika then gone, and Killua now. It is not surprising to be able to do such a thing. Tell me everything you know about the Kaluta clan. The puppet Shalnark nodded and began to speak. But to Kurapika's disappointment, the puppet Shalnark doesn't know much. Richard couldn't be sure if the doll didn't get that part of the memory, or if Shalnark didn't know it. Medium, you know what? I heard. Richard frowned. When did you hear it? Overheard the head of the regiment mentioned it. What else did you hear then? There is none left. When Richard thought about it, the puppet Shalnark disappeared. Karika, one thing is certain now, Krallo does know about the media. Then, when Phantom Troop went to attack Uklata, there's a high probability that it was because of this. After the auction is over, take me to your old site and see if I can find any clues. It is good. Richard walked out the door, ready to leave. By the way, this Shalnark, what are you going to do with it? 35 Karapika was silent for a while. You can't let him leave alive. With the means of Phantom Troop, maybe I will find you soon, so get ready early. 35 Richard went downstairs. Only 2 steps away. Sudden, a car stopped. A girl got out of the car. Girl with blue hair. Richard. The girl saw Richard. Richard turned back. Richard, why are you here? I'm Nyan. Don't you remember me? Nyan, long time no see. Richard didn't like Nyan very much. Back then, the Nasla family had turned their backs on Richard's family. But Richard is somewhat interested in the source of Nyan's abilities. Much like it was acquired through the medium, Richard had other plans. But since it just happened to happen, it doesn't matter if you observe it first. Condensation. 99 Richard looked at Nyan. A faint breath wrapped around Nyan's body. Like thinking. But Nyan's own aura nodes did not open. The state is very similar to Betty. I didn't expect to see you here, Richard. Where have you been all these years? What are you doing now? Is his uncle okay? A faint surprise appeared on Nyan's face. Richard frowned. In this way, Nyan really didn't know anything about his own situation. My father has passed away. Feel sorry. It doesn't matter. Everyone will die, sooner or later. Richard said, I'm here this time for the auction. Is that so? That's the same as me. I'm here to buy things. What do you want? 55? No, I'll just take a look. 99, that's it. Nyan rolled his eyes and said, Otherwise, let's go up and sit down. We haven't seen each other for a long time. If my father sees you, he will definitely be very pleasantly surprised. Surprise? Just be frightened. Can't. Zwian next to him frowned, but didn't say much. He's responsible for Nyan's safety. But Richard was invited by Nyan himself. You're much taller than before, Nyan said excitedly. At that time, I remember that both of us were short, and we want to climb the fence together and steal other people's fruits, and fell off the wall. The 2 of us were scolded so miserably that time. Richard smiled. It was so childish back then. It was very naive, but looking back now, I am very happy. 35 Nyan sighed suddenly. Unfortunately, after we moved, I never saw you again. My father kept saying that he was very busy and didn't take me out at all. I wanted to contact you, but 5.0 couldn't get in touch with you. After Nasra relied on Nyan's ability to rise, of course, he did not want to have contact with Richard again. The 2 gangster families are no longer at the same level. And Nyan's ability is Nasla's reliance. Nosly will not let anyone get his hands on his daughter, which is the basis for him to settle down. By the way, let me show you my collection. I have a lot of interesting stuff in my collection. Richard gave a smile. Okay, that's exactly what Richard wanted. Richard also thought about how to get in touch with the things around Nyan and see if he could find something similar to the medium. I didn't expect Nyan to take the initiative to invite. The Zwishia hesitated for a moment, walked out of the door, and made a phone call. My lord, the lady took a person upstairs, whose name is Richard, and it seems that she and the lady are old acquaintances. Chapter 155 Maggie's Tao subscribe. Richard? Nasra frowned. That name, Nasla remembered. Sinj's death caused a lot of shock in the world's gangsters. The more critical thing is that the world's gangsters chose to give up revenge. When nothing happened, this makes people have to guess what kind of strength Richard has reached. But Nyan, how did you know Richard? Sudden, Nasra thought of something else. Back then, when the Nasla family was not yet prosperous, the son of a gang leader who had a good relationship with him seemed to be called Richard. Back then, he and that person even jokingly had a baby kiss. However, with the rise of the Nasra family, no one took this seriously. Could it be that Richard who killed Singed was the same Richard? Nasla's pupils shrank. What is he trying to do? Do you fulfill the doll kiss of the year? 99 Nasra paced back and forth. The things I did back then were not authentic, but when people go to high places and water flows to low places, if someone else is replaced, they will definitely do the same thing. Wait, 09. Nasla stopped. If Richard wanted to fulfill his doll kiss, that's actually not a bad thing. The reason why I didn't recognize that thing back then was because Richard was no longer worthy of Nyan. But now Richard is worthy. One person killed Singed, one of the 10 old men in the world's gang. 39. What a tyrannical power it is. If the Nasra family gets Richard's help, wouldn't it be just around the corner for me to become one of the 10 old men? Nyan's ability to predict and Richard's strength. Nasra's eyes lit up. It's just like God is perfecting me. North pulled a call back to this one, yeah. I'll go right now, don't act rashly. 5, yes. Nyan brought Richard to her collection room. This is just a temporary collection room. After all, Nyan is only staying in Ukexin temporarily to participate in the auction. There are only some of Nyan's favorite collections, as well as the collections that have just been purchased from the market here at Ukexin. Mummy, organs soaked in formalin. Bloody weapon, I have to say that Nyan's hobbies are indeed different from those of most people. Richard looked over one by one. Also reach out and touch. Richard is quite knowledgeable about media. After all, so many contacts. 2 dark sonatas. A crystal ball. There is also the wood carving that resentment is parasitic. Richard probably knows what kind of characteristics the medium will have and what kind of characteristics. As long as it is placed in front of Richard, Richard will be in close contact. Basically, it can be judged whether this thing is a medium or not. But it's a pity. None of the things Nyan brought. Richard, do you like these things too? Nyan's eyes lit up when he saw Richard seemed very interested. This hobby, most people do not understand. Even Neon's maid, guard, and even Neon's father, Nathra. Seeing that Richard seemed interested now, Nyan suddenly showed an expression of seeing his confidant. Okay, it's interesting. After getting Richard's affirmative answer, Nyan's eyes brightened. I still have a lot of collections at home. After this auction is over, Richard, come to my house as a guest. How about I show you my other collections? Convenient. Of course it's convenient. That would be troublesome. No trouble, no trouble. A burst of footsteps sounded outside. Push the door in. Father. Nyan saw the visitor and hurried up to meet him. Richard looked at the middle-aged man in front of him, the current head of House Nasra. Nyan's father. There is no ability in itself, and it is relying on Nyan's ability to continue to climb up. In the world gangster, the reputation is not good. Many people say that Nasra is a piece of trash who has taken the light of his own daughter. Nyan, what is this? Father, this is Richard. Don't you remember? He even came to play at our house. Oh, it's Richard, I remember. Nasla smiled and asked, Richard, how is your father? 35 has passed away. Feel sorry. It's okay. Nasla showed a sighing expression. I haven't seen you for so many years. I didn't expect you to grow up so big, Richard, and you're taller than me. By the way, Richard came to Ukexin. Did he also come to participate in the auction? Did you see something? Maybe I can help. Richard shook his head. It's nothing. I'm just looking around. Nasla was enthusiastic, a little more than Richard expected. However, Richard soon realized that Nasla already knew his intelligence, knew his strength, and knew that he broke into the Singed manor alone and killed Singed. For herself, Nasra wanted to befriend, even want to use their own power. Richard's expression became colder. People are all about profit and avoiding harm. That's right. However, Richard was regarded as a harm by Nasla once, and now it has become a profit in Nasla's eyes. It is impossible for Richard to simply let go of his previous grievances. Richard didn't expect anything from Northra. The only thing Richard was interested in was the medium that Nyan might have in his hands. If there is anything you're interested in, you can tell me any time. I can still influence some of the things in this 067 auction, and I can take them out in advance. By the way, do you want to have a late-night snack or something? I just happen to be here. Speaking of which, Nyan and I haven't had dinner together for a long time. We're too busy. Richard smiled. I still have something to do, so I won't bother you much. Nyan, see you next time. Nyan nodded. Goodbye. Going downstairs, out of the building, Richard got back into the car. Huasher Dolong drove. Richard turned on his phone, selected a number, and sent 2 voices over. Sent to Maggie. One paragraph is what the puppet Shalnert said. Another paragraph, Richard said. From Shalnert's words, Chrollo does know about the medium. Richard only said this sentence and did not say much. Saying more may have the opposite effect. It's a better choice to let Maggie think about it. Maggie deletes the speech. Maggie, what's wrong? Nabinaga looked over. Richard sent a voiceover, and Shalnerk's words confirmed that the head of the regiment did know about the media. The question now is why the head of the regiment hid this thing from us. Maggie's face was not very good looking. The head of the regiment really treats us as partners? 35. Or just use us as tools. Chapter 156. Richard was there at that time. Let's investigate first. Nabinaga was silent for a while. Maybe the head of the regiment has some difficulties that cannot be said. 99 hopes so, but it's not just Maggie. In Nabinaga's heart, there was also a suspicion of Chrollo. This thing is really deliberate. A team of people, why withhold information? And it's such important information. An invisible crack has appeared in the brigade. Ukerson, after all, has stabilized. The reaction of the world gangster was quick. Control the fishing reels and stabilize the situation. In addition, the official time for the auction to resume was announced. As if the influence caused by the Phantom Troop was just that one bounty order left. Phaeton tore down a strong bounty. I really looked down on us. One person only gave a mere 2 billion rennies. 5. Are our lives so worthless? Phaeton sneered. There will be no real people who will hunt us down for these 2 billion ringworms. 5 Finks glanced aside. Who knows? I know something about us, and I won't go against us for the mere 2 billion rennies. However, it is inevitable that some people don't understand the situation and think their strength is good. But it's just death. The other side. Nabinaga glanced back behind him. Maggie, have you noticed that too? What are you going to do? Maggie was silent for a while. Whether the head of the regiment betrays our brigade is another matter. The people who follow us are most likely to come for the so-called reward. However, there's a certain possibility of getting to know Karapika. Catch them first. Nabinaga nodded. The two went to a remote place. Richard returned to the hotel. The rest of the auction, which has something to do with Richard, is not a big deal. Karapika had already agreed to provide information about the Karapika tribe to Richard. On the Phantom Troop side, Richard's arrangement also appeared. If Chrollo really has a medium in his hands, then Maggie will investigate and he will definitely get relevant information. At that time, Maggie would have to share the information with Richard. Because among the people Maggie knew, only Richard knew about this thing. Nyan also invited Richard. After the auction event is over, Richard's plan can proceed smoothly. If it goes well, I will get 2 mediums 99 as for the conflict between Phantom Troop and the World Gang. Richard has no idea of being involved. How many people die doesn't matter to Richard. As long as Richard needs the key people, it will be fine. Brother Richard. When Betty saw Richard and Huasher Dolong come back, she hurriedly ended her workout. Sweating. Eaten dinner yet? I did. I ate some cookies. Richard glanced at the biscuit package on the table. With such a large amount of training, you can't just eat biscuits. 55 Richard picked up the hotel landline. Ordered a dinner. When the people at the hotel will bring dinner, eat more, and when you are full, you'll have the strength to train. If we're not here, you can order it yourself. You still have the money, right? Betty nodded. Richard continued, but don't work too hard at your current age. It's good to train in moderation, but too much training can cause damage to your body. I see. Thank you, Brother Richard. Suddenly, Maggie and Nabinaga moved. Disappeared in an instant. The expressions of Gon and Killua changed suddenly. Discovered. Run. However, at the current level of Gon and Killua, they are far from Maggie and Nabinaga. In addition, there are more than 2 people here, Nabinaga and Maggie. 2 rooms. A figure appeared at each door. Gon and Killua stopped abruptly. A cold sweat dripped from his forehead. On the left, Yuvijin. On the right is Hisoka. Gon and Killua looked back in the direction of the window. However, Nabinaga and Maggie had reached the window. It could be said that the entire room was sealed off. There is nowhere to run. Who sent you here? Killua's eyes flickered, and she moved around the room at an extremely fast speed. Ordinary people's eyes can't catch it all. However, the 4 Maggies are not ordinary people. Boom! Killua rushed towards Yuvijin. Because of the basic judgment, Yuvajin had no weapons in his hands. Killua is more afraid of the knife in Nobunaga's hand. But Killua was wrong. The power of Yuvajin is too strong. Just grab Killua with one hand. Hold tight. Can't move. Do you know that man named Kurapika? 55 Killua's eyes flickered. Looks like they know each other. Yuvajin grabbed Killua's other hand. Tell me where he is now. Also, what happened to our companion who was taken away from him? Next door, Gon is easier to catch than Killua. The four Magi, with Gon and Killua, gathered in a room. Say it. Killua's pupils narrowed slightly when she saw Hisoka. This change was noticed by Yuvajin. During the plot, Gon saw Hisoka, and his face also became very big. However, because Shizuku next to him was there, he was distracted. But this time, no Shizuku. Hisoka, do you know each other? Yuvajin looked at Hisoka. That's it. Hisoka could only nod his head in acknowledgement. We don't know where Kurapika is. You said Kurapika. We do know someone with that name, but that person we met during the hunter exam when Hisoka was there. Everyone looked at Hisoka. Hisoka nodded. Really? Then why didn't you say it before? Because I'm not sure. Those two are the same person. Hisoka said, the Kurapika I saw during the hunter exam was weak. It's impossible to get to the point of capturing Shalnark. The name Kurapika is not uncommon. There is a high possibility of the same name. Yuvajin frowned of Wang Zhao's head. That Kurapika, can you read it? Won't. Hisoka's expression didn't change. On lying, there are not many people in this world who are stronger than Hisoka. By the way, Richard was there at the time. Luo Richard? Maggie and Nobunaga hesitated. Yuvajin frowned as well. Hisoka added another sentence and said, also Maggie, you should have seen these two people. When they were in the Sky Arena, they both hit the 200th floor, and they even flew in combat. 5 Maggie thought back. Seems to be. Hisoka mentions Richard's name, making Maggie hesitate. Even if he suspects that Krallo may be betraying the brigade, Maggie still wants to save Shalnark. After all, he is a member of the brigade. Yuvajin frowned when he saw Maggie, Nobunaga. Hisoka's expressions changed. What are you thinking? Now, isn't it time to make sure that the Kurapika that these two people know is the one who kidnapped Shalnark? Chapter 157. The confidence of fans, the medium thing Yuvajin didn't know. So Yuvajin didn't understand why Maggie and Nobunaga, after hearing Richard's name, became hesitant. I'll make a call first. Maggie walked out the door and entered the next room. When Richard got a call from Maggie, Richard was stunned. Gon and Killua? That's right. I know these two people. Like Hisoka, I met them the hunter exam. Gon passed the hunter exam, right? Killua's case, it's the last game. 35, so there will be an impression. Richard really didn't expect that the plot has changed to what is now, and Gon and Killua still fell into the hands of Phantom Troop. What kind of confidence do these two have to capture the Phantom Troop man? Killua must know something about Phantom Troop. Silva once told Killua about the Phantom Troop. He even said that he did not want to take on tasks related to Phantom Troop in the future. Such words. This is enough to prove that Silva approves of Phantom Troop. And Killua, after learning none, should know better that his strength is not enough now. Can't compare to his own father. Even his father finds it troublesome. How could he be the opponent's opponent? Where's the confidence of the fans from 067? Is that Kurapika they know? The Kurapika from a gang? Yes. Richard didn't hide it, because it is not necessary. Among the Phantom Troop, Pike Newton's ability is to read the memory of the target. The condition is to have physical contact with each other. Gon and Killua's memories can be fully read as long as Pike Newton is in contact with Gon and Killua. Maggie's pupil shrank slightly. I see, thanks. 35 Maggie paused. By the way, Richard, if we're going to use these two people as hostages now, from Kurapika's hands, in exchange for Shalnark, do you think it's feasible? 5, that's not what I said. Since Richard, you can contact Kurapika. Can you ask him for me? Okay? It is good. Hang up the phone. Richard immediately called Kurapika. Richard, Kuraika, the guys from Phantom Troop, just called me and said Gon and Killua were in their hands and they wanted to trade Gon and Killua for Shalnark .35? What? Kurapika was suddenly startled. Why did Ajfa, Gon and Killua get caught by them? Why would they know that Gon, Killua, and I know each other? 99 Richard explained the situation to Kurapika. They're probably trying to catch the Phantom Troop Man and get the 2 billion ringnig bounty. Also, they like to do challenging things like this, and you should know them well. Kurapika fell silent. I'm a little speechless about Gon and Killua's show. These two people are indeed common sense and difficult to infer. Gon does this sort of thing not once or twice. Olive greed counts as one. Even if he was out of breath, he still wanted to pick up Leija's ball, if not because of physical exhaustion and fell down. Maybe Gon's head will be smashed like a watermelon by Liza's ball. Not to mention Kate and the chimeric ant. Let me consider it. As soon as Kurapika hung up, Leorio's call came in. Kurapika, something bad happened. Gon and Killua were taken by the men of Phantom Troop. Leorio, are you also involved in this matter? Leorio regrets it. But compared to Gon and Killua, Leorio is less to blame. Because Leorio doesn't know how much power is between Phantom Troop and Gon and Killua. But Killua and Gon have that concept. Let's meet. Soon, Kurapika and Leorio showed up at a coffee shop. Leorio, tell me the whole story. Leorio lowered his head and told things one by one. Our starting point is also to help to see if we can get information about the Phantom Troop. And Gon also needs money to see if we can get the 2 billion ringnig bounty. Where's the bounty of the world's gangsters so easy to get? Kurapika's tone was cold. Even the world's gangsters can't do anything about those people. How can Gon and Killua be the opponents of Phantom Troop with their current strength? Why don't you stop them, Leorio? 35, neither did I expect. 35, Leorio's expression was awkward. Now, Kurapika, what can you do? What can I do? Kurapika sighed. The other party is called and wants to exchange hostages with me. I captured one of their members, and now they want to exchange Gon and Killua. I can only promise them. Leorio breathed a sigh of relief. Kurapika looked at Leorio. After this incident, Leorio, you take them and leave Ukexin immediately, or just stay in the hotel and don't come out again. I don't want them to get involved again. It is good. Kurapika called Richard back. I agree to the hostage exchange. Okay, give me the people, and I'll exchange hostages with them. Good. 39 Richard proposed this because he had an idea. Do not return the real Shalnark to Phantom Troop. Instead, return the doll Shalnark. In this way, perhaps through this doll from the Phantom Troop, the information that Richard wants can be obtained. Only Maggie here. Richard thinks it may not be enough. Krallo is not so easy to deal with. Soon, Kurapika brought people over. Kurapika can only find an excuse for Dizeo. Richard got Shalnark. Okay, Kurapika, you can go back. Leave the rest to me. 39, please. A picture scroll appeared. Richard took Shalnark and entered the clock tower in the picture. After that, tie the Shalnark to a post. Doll making. A puppet identical to Shalnark appeared in front of Shalnark. Shalnark's eyes widened. Richard, what do you want to do? Richard didn't answer. Instead, let the puppet Shalnark directly capture Shalnark's eyes, from an eyeless state to a true eye state. In this way, the puppet Shalnark can have half of Shalnark's power and get more memories of Shalnark. Do you know anything more about the medium? Eyeless puppets and real-eye puppets have different memories. What the eyeless puppet doesn't know, the real-eye puppet may know. The head of the regiment mentioned a transaction. In Meteor Street, a certain elder's transaction contains the word media, but more details I don't know. Richard's eyes lit up. Chapter 158, Doll Undercover, Subscription. Richard looked again at the real Shalnark, who had lost his eyes. Shalnark must know more. However, Richard did not have the confidence to interrogate it. These Phantom Troop people are very strong in character. People who come out of the mountain of corpses and blood, and ordinary torture methods cannot make them surrender and explain unless it is none who directly obtains the memory. Pike Newton's ability is very useful. Richard came out of the clock tower. Shalnark was imprisoned in the picture scroll clock tower by Richard. As long as Richard wanted, Shalnark would be imprisoned in it for the rest of his life. Richard glanced at the puppet Shalnark next to him. Very real, almost indistinguishable from real humans. 99. The puppets in the state of real eyes are almost exactly the same. Even the people of Phantom Troop, if they don't see any clues, they won't doubt it. Richard called Maggie's number. It's me. 99, Richard, how? Did Karapika agree? Accepted. Richard nodded. But he won't show up, but entrust me with the transaction. Can. Maggie hung up the phone and looked at the three. The other party agreed. Nobunaga breathed a sigh of relief. Hisoka was also relieved. Gone is what Hisoka is looking forward to. If the person who will fight with him in the future dies in the present, then Hisoka will feel pity, watching a delicious prey disappear. Where is the transaction? A small supermarket in front of the commercial street. Then let's go right away. Richard was already in the car by this time. Hwasher Dolong drove. Richard sits in the back seat. The puppet Shalnirk sits next to Richard. Except for my secrets, which I can't tell, the rest of the information can be said. In addition, don't have any contact with Pykinaton, and the memory will be read by Pykinaton. Yes, the doll, Shalnirk, will be a pawn that Richard will insert into the Phantom Troop. Richard had determined that the medium had information that Shalnirk knew. Well, Krallo will probably talk to Shalnirk about it in the future. The puppet Shalnirk can pass all that information to Richard. The car stopped at the entrance of an alley. I'll be there soon. Maggie sends a text message. Just finished. Several figures appeared at the other end of the alley. Gone Killua. Behind them are Maggie, Nobunaga, Yuvijin, Hisoka. For people. Where's Kurapika? Not coming. Then let's start trading. Richard nodded and patted the puppet Shalnirk on the shoulder. After that, the puppet Shalnirk walked towards the opposite side. Gon and Killua coming this way at the same time. Three people staggered. In an instant, Killua had an idea and combined the power of Gon to capture Shalnirk. Furthermore, he made up for the damage he had caused to Karapika by the two of them. But at this moment, a sharp gaze fell on Killua. Killua glanced at Gon next to him and chose to give up. Because Killua knew Gon wouldn't do it. Ding, ding. 35 in the alley. Only the footsteps of three people sounded. Gon and Killua approached Richard's side. Shalnirk came to Maggie's fore. Pleasant to work with. Richard waved his hand and said, if there is nothing else, we will leave first. Hwasher Dolong opened the car door, and Gon and Killua quickly got into the car. Shalnirk, are you all right? The puppet Shalnirk shook his head. Hisoka, you call the regiment commander. Fight is good. Hisoka took out his phone. Hey, Captain. Hisoka, what's the matter? Shalnirk we have brought back. Bring it back. Yes. Krallo was silent for a while. Come back first. 35, it is good. Gon and Killua looked at Turo Kazuhiro in the driver's seat and Richard in the co-pilot. Sorry. Richard glanced back and said, I'm sorry. Don't tell me I didn't lose because of your actions. It was Kurapika who lost. It should be a very difficult decision. The murderer who clearly killed his own people is right in front of him. But because his friend fell into the hands of the enemy, he had to release the enemy. Gon lowered his head. Richard, can you take us to Kurapika? Cannot. Why? Because Kurapika doesn't want to see you. Oh, what Richard said. Karaika said, after making you safe, either leave Ukexin immediately or stay in the hotel and don't go out. I don't want you to get involved with him and Phantom Troop. Gon clenched his fists. We just want to help. 0. 4 flowers, 0. Richard shrugged. I've already brought it up, and I don't care about the rest. Hwasher Dolong, stop and let them go down. There was a sudden screech of brakes. Boom! The door is open. Gon and Killua got out of the car. Hwasher Dolong drove to the hotel. Richard's purpose has been achieved. By accident, Richard was given the opportunity to install the puppet Shalnirk into the brigade. And this time, the 4 of Hisoka, along with Shalnirk, returned to the base. Shalnirk, are you all right? Shalnirk shook his head and said nothing. Pykinaton approached Shalnirk at Krallo's signal. But Shalnirk backed away abruptly after seeing Pyke Nortan. This situation immediately attracted everyone's attention. Pykinaton frowned. Your memory? I can't read it? Shalnirk still shook his head and said nothing. The atmosphere was tense. Some of the brigade members looked at Shalnirk with suspicion. Pykinaton's eyes narrowed slightly. Are you Shalnirk? Yes. The puppet Shalnirk speaks for the first time. Krallo looked at Shalnirk, then at Maggie. Pyke Nortan, back off. If my expectations are correct, Shalner's body should be similar to Maggie's body. It is restricted, and it cannot be read from memory, and cannot reveal what happened during the period of being taken away. Otherwise, will you die? Crollo glanced at Maggie. However, the matter between Richard and our brigade is over. Richard had no reason to shoot Shalnark. That means against Shalnark, it's Karapika. Like Richard, Karapika has the ability to set limits. What a troublesome ability. 99 Feeton took a sudden step forward. Captain, we can't just leave this matter alone, can we? Of course not, Crollo said. However, the most important thing for us at the moment is to obtain the auction items. Shalnark has returned safely, and the problem of reading can be solved with reading after all. Now there are 13 of us. Let's split into 4 teams. Karaika, maybe he'll shoot again. But this time, he didn't have the help of the Ian Beast, and Richard won't shoot 3 people enough to deal with it. 99. Once encountered, kill without mercy. And Chapter 159, the auction opened again. Me, Shalnark, Pike Nortan, Kuba, Finks, Feeton, Flaking Leviticus, Yuvijin, Nabinaga, Maggie, Hisoka, Shizuku, Franklin. We are divided into 4 teams. The players act at the same time. Karapika's purpose, I have probably guessed. One is because of us, he wants revenge. The second is that he wants to get back the eyes of his people. 35. As long as my first plan goes well, finding Karapika is not difficult. 99. Crollo quickly made plans. Originally, this was Shalnark's job, but the puppet Shalnark, under Richard's arrangement, pretended to be restricted in order not to make the brigade suspect the identity of the puppet Shalnark. Crollo won't let Shalnark decide, especially recently. The auction, tomorrow night, will resume with 067. This time, I have a better plan. What Crollo said is a better plan is to use Kubiai's ability to copy all the auction items and then pretend to be a staff member and take the copies for auction. In this way, you can make money twice. But this kind of thing can only be done once or twice. If you do it too much, no one will find you to do business. Gon called Karapika. Karaika, I'm sorry. Karapika didn't say anything. Gon and Killua's sassy actions really made Karapika a little confused and unhappy. When such a thing happens, everyone will be unhappy. Fortunately, after paying such a huge price, the enemy that was captured was released in a blink of an eye. Moreover, he has to bear the risk of being blamed by Dihua and others. But we don't want to leave. Karapika will make up for the trouble we've caused you. Let's get involved in your plans. 99. A black line appeared on Karapika's forehead. It's not enough to do it once. Do you want to do it a second time? Let's meet. Karapika finished speaking and hung up the phone. Not long after, Leorio began to act as a middleman, connecting. This is the reason why Richard doesn't want to talk to Gon, because Gon is too stubborn, and it is difficult for outsiders to change his mind about what he believes. Richard wasn't Gon's nanny either, so he didn't have the energy to take care of these things. Whoever wants to take care of it, just let whoever go. If only Gon and Killua really made things worse. For Richard, it wasn't even a bad thing, because Richard might be able to see the arrangement of the Hunter Guild and the Zoldyck family on both Gon and Killua. The training of these 2 people is definitely not according to the line of ordinary none. There's a high probability that it is for the Dark Continent. In a restaurant, Karapika booked a private room. Gon and Killua walked in. Karaika, I'm sorry, but let us help you. 5. Karapika pointed to the dishes on the table. Let's eat first. Karapika ate it herself first. Gon and Killua looked at each other and picked up the tableware. Your current strength is too poor to help me at all. Since you have met the people of Phantom Troop, you should know how big the gap is between you and them. What can you do? Killua raised a question. Karaika, you didn't study none for as long as we did. Why is your strength comparable to that of Phantom Troop? But we can't. None. What did you all learn? Tangling, refining, absolutely condensing. 35. Only these 4? Yes. That's why you guys can't compare to me now. You haven't even learned how to send hair. Hair is a very important point for a nun. However, just learning to send hair is not enough. The people of Phantom Troop were already nun people a long time ago, and their cultivation of mindfulness has reached a very high level. What about you, Karapika? Karapika was silent for a while, then said, "Normally, I would not be their opponent, but I used another thing, restraint and oath. Constraints and oaths made at the cost of my life. The harsher the conditions, the greater the power to be rewarded. It is because of this that I can beat them. Gon looked towards Karapika, then I can do the same." "No." "Why?" "Because this is not a one-time thing, but a lifetime thing. Because of my own destiny, I have to avenge my people, the people who killed Phantom Troop. So I need this." "But you are different. There is no such hatred between you and Phantom Troop. What you want to do is hunt her. I am the Avenger. We are not the same. If you make such restrictions and vows, you will definitely regret it. You can't let my business ruin your life." Killua was silent for a while. "Then what can we do for you? At least let's do something." Karapika said, "It's the best help for me not to be caught by the people at Phantom Troop. 99. If you want to participate, then at least learn to send first." Karapika understood what Killua meant. If Gon is not allowed to do something, Gon will not be reconciled. "It is good." Sure enough, Karapika's voice fell. Gon and Killua looked at each other. "So, Karapika, can you tell us how to practice FA?" "Can the next day? Auction is about to start. World gangsters have done their best to undo the effects of the Phantom Troop attack. At 9 p.m., the auction will resume. But just in case the Phantom Troop reappears, the World Gang has hired some assassins. 8 in total. Among them, Silva and Geno. Also, Nasra could have brought Karapika with him. The entire Een Beast was wiped out. Only Karapika captured Shalnark. It can be seen from this that Karapika's strength is 5.0 stronger than that of Een Beast. A bald, middle-aged man with a gloomy face looked around at several killers. The auction will be held at 9 o'clock in the evening. The Phantom Troop guys definitely come back. Besides them, there may be other people with ulterior motives. And my request of you, just kill them all, no matter the means. You are all homicide experts, and I trust your professionalism." And at this time, all the people from Phantom Troop were also present. Richard chose to go, not because of the auction items, not because of the Phantom Troop, but to see if the doll Shalnark has any flaws in the Phantom Troop and is suspected by others. Also, Richard doesn't really want Nine's abilities to be taken away by Krallo. This may have an impact on Richard getting Nine's medium. Chapter 160, Richard vs. Krallo, unlike the last fanfare. This time, Phantom Troop chose a gentle invasion, disguised as ordinary guests or staff. With superb camouflage skills, coupled with the skill above everyone else, no one could see any difference. "Nyan, are you at the meeting?" "Here, Richard. Are you here too?" Nyan's eyes lit up and looked around. "Well, tell me your location and I'll come find you." Good 39 Nyan reported his location. Soon, Richard came this way. Richard was the only one who came today, and Huasher Dolong didn't come. "Richard." Nyan waved from a distance. After Richard came over, Nyan immediately looked at the people next to him. "You guys stop following me later. I'll be fine with Richard." A guard hesitated, then nodded. Information about Richard they have obtained. A single person broke into the Singed Manor and killed all the people in the manor. With this strength, none of Nyan's guards would be Richard's opponent. If Richard wanted to play against Nyan, there was nothing they could do. From Kurapika's mouth, they also learned something. A member of the Phantom Troop who knows that Richard has beaten him refers to Hisoka 09. There's a lot of good stuff coming up at auction today. 99, is it? By the way, Richard, why don't I do a divination for you? Nyan said slightly proudly. My divination is very accurate, and I have never made a mistake. Really? I'm 35, then try it. The two sat down on one side. This is a hallway lounge from which you can look down. It is a good place to see the scenery and breathe. Nyan handed over a piece of paper. Richard, I need you to write your name, date of birth, and blood type on this. Richard nodded. This is not something to be kept secret. It's written. It is good. Nyan took the paper back. After that, closed his eyes. Richard looked at Nyan. Congeal. Just saw. A mass of air condensed on Nyan's right hand. Above Nyan's right hand, a monster-like creature appeared. Very ugly with wings. This is Nyan's ability. Angel's automatic notes. It can be predicted that the other party will happen in the next month, in the form of a divination poem. Poetry is not very obscure as long as people with a little cultural common sense can analyze it. In the plot, Hisoka took advantage of this and designed Crawlo. Deliberately leave inconspicuous hints and let Crawlo make up his own mind. All right. Nyan opened his eyes. He quickly picked up the paper in front of him and suddenly froze for a moment. What's wrong? Richard asked. Shouldn't be. 99 Nyan looked at the paper, frowning. Why is there nothing? Richard looked over and saw that there was nothing on the page, but a mess of lines which could not be called words at all, let alone a divination poem. As for the reason, Richard has probably guessed it. His fate line has been completely changed by that huge creature in the deep sea. Otherwise, he would have died in the gang's rebellion. I've never missed a beat. Never mind. Very strange. Nyan was puzzled. Sudden, a figure came over here. Richard looked up. This man, Richard knew. The head of the Phantom Troop, Hisoka's target, in Richard's guess, should be someone who has been exposed to the media. When Richard looked at Crawlo, Crawlo also looked at Richard. For Richard, Crawlo knew the same. After Shalnark was taken away by Kurapika that day, Crawlo obtained Richard's photo. Very easy to get. After all, Richard has played in the Sky Arena. And when you come out, there will be video and photo data left. Crawlo's eyes shifted from Richard to Nyan. Richard realized, Crawlo is for Nyan. Apparently knew Nyan's abilities. I want to steal this ability from Nyan. But Richard won't let Crawlo's plan succeed. A possible medium exists in the hands of Richard conspiring against Nyan. Not sure whether Nyan's loss of this ability will have an impact on Richard finding this medium. Sir, ma'am, may I ask you anything? 39 Crawlo pretended to be the waiter at the auction at this time. Thank you, no need. Nyan opened his mouth, but Richard had already spoken first, and Nyan swallowed the words that came to his lips. After watching Crawlo's back for a while, he looked away. Nyan, what do you want? 99, no. Richard had no intention of calling Crawlo back. Nyan had no idea. Just now, the confrontation between Crawlo and Richard. Even after seeing Richard, Crawlo still didn't give up the idea of shooting at Nyan. But when Crawlo makes such a move, a dangerous aura immediately fell on Crawlo, making Crawlo horrified. Crawlo just stopped moving. Crawlo judged that Richard and was his equal. Once he makes a move, the two will inevitably fight. As for winning or losing, Crawlo wasn't sure. However, Crawlo's plan was bound to fail. Hisoka. 35 Crawlo called Hisoka. Captain, I saw Richard just now. Did you have a fight with Richard last time? Yes. Can the two of us kill him in an instant? Hisoka was silent for a while. Cannot, I see. Crawlo hung up. Turning back, glanced at Richard's location. Divination ability, if you don't get it, then forget it, and the rest will follow the plan. Kill the junk they hired first. Crawlo noticed, behind him, the pair of eyes watching him. Crawlo sensed the other person's breath very clearly. Also none, but, to be honest, Crawlo thinks they're probably no match for the Ean Beast. Crawlo entered an empty room. Come out. A middle-aged man had a gloomy smile on his face. I didn't expect to be discovered by you. 39 Phantom Troop, it really lives up to its name. A look of contempt flashed in Crawlo's eyes. It's hard to say if I live up to my reputation. But you guys are much rougher than I expected. The middle-aged face sank. Don't be so arrogant now. You're a criminal group, yes, but just some thieves, robbers. And I'm a professional killer. Between us, we are different. 5. It's just you and me right now. I want to kill you. No one can stop me. Chapter 161 Employment of the Person in Charge. Yeah, we're different. A book appeared in Crawlo's hands. Open. After. 2 white, huge fish floated out of the book. This is an ability that Crawlo stole. Miss Fish. The condition is that they can only survive in a secret room. Once the conditions of the chamber are broken, the fish will disappear. Because of the strict restrictions, these 2 chanting fish will be very strong. In addition, as long as the secret room is not broken, the chanting fish will not disappear. Then those who are attacked by Ninyu will not die, even if they are seriously injured. In a sense, this can be regarded as a torture-type ability. Let the other party watch, and you'll be eaten by the Nyen fish little by little. What is this? The middle-aged pupil shrank. Don't you even know that? It seems that your thoughts are just getting started. Crawlo didn't even look back. Next moment, the huge Ninyu swooped towards the middle-aged man. 1 bite. A large piece of meat was bitten off the middle-aged body. Immediately, in middle age, the ability to resist is lost. Can only watch helplessly. Nianyu is devouring his own flesh and blood. Tell me, who hired you? How many people in total? A look of sadness appeared on the middle-aged face. Kill me. Want to die? It's not that easy. Say what I want to know, and I'll make you feel better. The middle-aged man was silent for a while. I see, then. Let's make you happy. Krallo opened the window. Missing fish disappeared, and middle-aged also died, a killer hired by the 10 old men. Except for Gino and Silva, the rest of the killers are all useless. Even worse than the Een Beast. Such strength, facing Krallo, is no different from a child facing an adult. Richard looked out the window. There are still some differences from a plot. 5. The people of Phantom Troop. It's not that big of a fuss. Probably because Shalnark isn't dead. Shalnark is indeed not dead. But Richard has been imprisoned in the picture scroll clock tower. Without Richard's permission, he would never be able to walk out of the clock tower for the rest of his life. Back to the brigade, but only made by Richard, the doll Shalnark. Richard, what are you looking at? Nothing. Richard smiled. Nyan, when did you get this divination ability? I don't really remember. Nyan recalled for a while and said, I only remember that when I was about 12 years old, I got a set of tarot cards, and after that, I became very interested in divination. I don't know when I got this ability. Richard frowned. Tarot. Yes. Nyan said, that deck of tarot cards is very interesting. It is different from ordinary tarot cards. I got it from a famous fortune teller named Mother of the Galaxy. Did you bring the card? No. Richard, are you interested in this? A little interested. Then when the auction is over, you and I will go to my house and I will show it to you. 39, it is good. According to Nyan's description, this tarot card is like a medium. But without seeing the real thing, Richard is not sure. Can only say roughly. Killer after killer died. Except Jano, Silva, Karapika. The remaining 6 killers have all died in Krallo's hands. The person in charge is a little flustered. The beast has failed. Now the killer is also dead 6. How will this auction continue? If the auction fails, the auction item was taken away. What will be your own fate? The person in charge couldn't imagine it. A figure appeared in front of the person in charge. The person in charge narrowed his pupils. Are you Een Beast? 39 Bat nodded and said, I have a candidate. If you can hire him, maybe you can deal with the assassin who entered the building. Who? Richard. 35, it's him. 35, the person in charge narrowed his pupils. Singe's death, these people all know. I saw him coming too, inside the building now. I'll go find him right away. Bat stared at the back of the person in charge leaving, and his eyes flickered. Phantom Troop, I will definitely make you pay the price. Especially you. Yuvijin. 35, the 2 killers of the Zoldyck family, the Shenner and me, plus Richard, can't deal with you alone. The leech and the old man had already chosen to leave. The earthworm fell into a deep sleep. Only Bat, very unhappy about losing to Phantom Troop. The rich hatred burned in the heart of the Bat. There was a sound of rapid footsteps. Richard looked up, just saw a bald man walking towards him. 2 young men followed behind. Is that Richard? Richard nodded. Nyan looked at the bald head. Looking back at Richard, we want to ask you to take action. An assassin in Phantom Troop has sneaked into the building. As long as you take action and kill the assassin, I can give you 10 billion yuan. 5 how? 55 Richard shook his head. Not so good. 10 billion. Kill Krallo? This business is not worth it at all. Is it difficult for a B-level nun to earn 10 billion? It's not difficult. It's actually a very simple thing. Buttra spent hundreds of billions of rennie. For what? Isn't it just for the breath of an archangel? And the breath of the archangel, to put it bluntly, is just none. Kim Freak's team, someone's none. 10 billion is already a lot, and the reward we offered them before was only 2 billion. 99, the bald head, gritted his teeth. Then Richard, say to yourself, how much do you want? Don't be too greedy. It's not about money or not. Richard said, do you know how much money I got from Singe's estate last time I killed Singed? 50 billion rennies. Killing Singed is much easier than killing this assassin. You know what I mean? 35, the bald head, suddenly changed color. I'm sorry, Wang Zhao. but I was too emotional. I really have no choice. 6 of the killers I hired have died. Richard looked at the bald head. As expected of a person who can be the person in charge, he can see the situation clearly. If you can't use money, you should immediately put pressure on it. And if you know that it's hard to do it, you'll immediately accept the softness. I don't need money. I need dark sonatas. 99. A dark sonata. I can help you contain this killer. 2 copies of dark sonatas. I can help you kill this killer. For the moment, I need to get the dark sonata Fae first. 4 dark sonatas. Richard has already got 2. Get the rest of the dark sonata if you can. Then Richard didn't mind shooting either. But look at the bald face. Obviously, the bald head does not have it. Isn't anything else possible except the dark sonata? 99. Unfortunately, no. Chapter 162, Kralov Zoldyck for subscription. The bald head gritted his teeth. I'll give you 10 billion first, and after the task is completed, I'll help you find 2 dark sonatas. How about it? Not interested in. Richard will not agree to something that is unfounded. Dark sonata, not so easy to find stuff. World gangster. The prefix adds the word world, but in fact, it is not a really powerful organization. Last time, Yorkshire had already expressed his disdain for the world's gangsters in his words. And in the next episode, the Kajin Empire and V5 are far from comparable to the world's gangsters. Even if Richard wanted to obtain the Dark Sonata and trade with an organization, he would not choose the World Gang. And this bald head is obviously just drawing cake for Richard. Richard had seen too many situations like this in his last life, especially after graduation, when I just started working. Company bosses, leaders, most like to do is to draw cakes. A flatbread. Let the following small employees excited. There is no denying that pie does exist. But one is that with so many companies, there are very few companies that can get the cake, and most of them end in failure. And even if the company gets that pie. But this cake has nothing to do with the little staff below. Not a single corner will be given to you. 067 is a little more atmospheric. Maybe I will give you some soup. Stingy, don't even give bones. At first, Richard did not feel sincerity from this bald head. Second, Richard didn't believe this man could get the Dark Sonata. Behind the bald head, a young man seemed a little dissatisfied with Richard's attitude. He took out the pistol from his pocket. Boy, how dare you speak to our boss like this? When the bald head saw this, his face suddenly changed. A touch of cold sweat flowed out.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.